Micah, welcome back to the bar.
Hey, it feels
It's
good
a
to be here. Can I get a drink? Can someone fill this thing up,
oh,
please? Come on.
hey,
Jeez.
innkeeper. What? I bet you're expecting a big burly man to walk over and fill up your
Oh,
drink.
in
Well,
walks a robot. I will fill your beverage with sedatives.
That wasn't what you were expecting from an
No, it
innkeeper, was
wasn't.
it?
Guess
Maybe.
you're going to have to listen to figure out what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's something that's going to come up a little bit later in the episode as we talk about maybe mixing up the ways we think about stories. You know, we have these black and white interpretations of things, the ways we expect stories to go, the sort of handed, low-hanging fruit, the tropes that are given to us from a young age. And then we have ways of breaking through these things to create new and exciting novelties and possibilities, like robots handing you sedatives in a dog shelter. So that's one of the things
Or
that we're going to be
monkeys
talking about.
displaying their ability
Yeah.
to deliver you gourmet cuisine.
Yeah, and fanciful displays of luxury and exoticism. And so one of the things we're talking about today is gray areas. So making things less black and
Yes.
white, making things more complicated, and that's exactly the thing that we get at in the exercise that we're hinting at here.
Absolutely. We're introducing a new segment where we have created the Right Guys Toolbox. It's a shared toolbox that we all get to carry around in our back pockets. It's deceivingly convenient. It can fit in any pocket in any outfit that you're wearing. Probably something to do with quantum mechanics there. But by the end of this episode, you are going to have that Right Guys Toolbox on your person, and there will be 2 new tools in it that you'll learn about. And we go over the challenge of romance. And my God, has it been tackled in every way that I can imagine beautifully by the Right Guys community.
Yep, the challenges are really good. They're really fun this week, and there's a lot of different kind of styles to them. Right Guys curriculum seems to be going well. A lot of people picking up their pens to get on that challenge, which we're super excited about. And in that same vein, announcing the next challenge is something that's going to happen right at the end. So you're going to have to stick around all the way to hear that one.
Yep, and you're going to want to pick up that toolbox because you just may need one of those tools to do the challenge.
All right, so let's get right into it then.
Let's go. Hey, Ben.
Hey, welcome.
Nice seeing you here.
Welcome back to the Right Guys table.
Yes. Hey, is that a guitar you brought into the bar back there?
Indeed,
Yeah, I think
there
we-
is a guitar back here in the bar. Just
Nice.
leaning up against the old oak.
Oh man, that's always a good sign to see a guitar in the bar. Well, dude, how has your week been?
It was good. I last week stayed out at my parents' place in Chester Springs. Had some quiet, peaceful time out away from the city, away from the hustle and bustle. Watched some Olympics actually.
Oh yeah, which one? Or what
Curling.
sport? I watched the curling too.
Yeah, Team Schuster.
Oh man, I wasn't paying attention to the names.
That's the American team.
Oh,
That's what they
dude.
kept calling them. Yeah,
So
dude.
which would you rather do, the brooming or the tossing, the sliding?
I think I would like the aiming more than the brooming.
Yeah, that brooming looks intense. But I hear that everyone has to do it, right?
It seems that way. Yeah, they seem to all rotate.
Yeah.
It's
You've
a
got your like
mysterious sport.
So I'm guessing like the better you are, the you kind of anchor, like you'd go last because
Right.
like that's when you really need those to be perfect shots.
Yeah, Schuster was always bringing up the rear.
Dang.
Yeah.
He must get a lot of curling tail, that Schuster.
He had great like personality and banter. Like he would just be like, because they're all lapelled up. Like all the curling players have mics on their like shirts, and there's I guess not much like reason for whatever reason to strategize and like hide it from the enemy team. So they're just talking and yelling their strategies so casually to each other, and like you can almost drown it out if you're not aware of it. But like sometimes before I realized, I thought it was just like the announcers or like people like yelling from the stands or something. Then at one point I just realized like these are just the players talking to each other in real time.
Yeah, right in front of them.
Yeah, and there's one point where Schuster was like looking at like just like the board was like so stacked against them, and he starts describing this shot, and he's like, "Do you guys think I can make this like triple shot off the back?" And you just hear one by one, no. Everyone on the team, and he was like, "Yeah, okay," but he was like, he was ready for it. He was gonna go for it if they all gave him the thumbs up. And that's
he said they're like, "I don't think I can do that, but maybe." What do you guys think? No. Okay. Yeah. No. No, I was just kidding. So I was watching and just like, man, where do you practice curling? Like, is there a curling league in Fort Worth, Texas? You know, like if I want to get into it, and that just led me down a rabbit hole, and I ended on curling tattoos, like for people who are really into it. And sure enough, dude, there are some good curling tattoos out there. I think one of my favorites was a tramp stamp, and it just had like dot 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 dot. It was like this little like. It like dot 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 dot, and then or dashes, and then it had like a little curling disc or ball or whatever you call it, and then like a little wind behind it, so it was like a little curling thing was just zipping across your back.
Nice.
There was that, and then there was like this beautiful flower, and in the middle of it was a curling ball.
Wow.
Yeah, it was well done.
Quite profound.
Yeah. I think once you get bit by the curling bug, you may never go back.
Yeah. And then I don't know when I might get a haircut soon. My hair is getting like very big. And I was going to bring this up because the last time I got my haircut was like the day before we recorded the first episode of Right Guys. And so this haircut has been growing out since like my last really short cut. And it's sort of like the lifespan and identity is sort of woven into the Right Guys universe for me.
Oh, so, man. We need to clip screenshots of all the episodes together so we can see your hair growth.
Yeah, for sure. and maybe we should get a poll of like whether I shouldn't get it cut because I'm considering getting it cut soon, but like maybe we just see how long we can just keep it going.
We can poll the Discord.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you think Ben should cut his hair, hop in the Discord and place your votes in off topic.
Good idea.
Maybe can we do polls on that?
I guess we'll find out. I mean, like you definitely can make polls online and then post a link in Discord. So like,
yeah, we're doing that. That's another idea that I'm just gonna say we're doing that, and then I'm not gonna do anything about it.
Yeah, all of a sudden it's on me to create a poll of whether people want me to cut my hair. It's seeming more and more vain.
Narcissist. Oh man. Well, what's on your mind, dude?
Well, I guess literally my hair was on my mind. The curling was on my mind, staying out at my parents'. What have you been up to since the last episode? That's what I want to know.
Okay. Well, I actually have been all over the place. I have big news to announce again.
Mm-hmm.
Second No Sleeper song is done.
Dude, nice.
Dude,
we're going
this ball
strong.
Is rolling.
Yes.
And man, it is so exciting. It's now a movie that like I feel like I keep pausing every time I finish a song, and I'm just like, oh, I can't wait to sit down and watch the rest of this. Like it's really starting to shape up, and I kind of have an idea of like where he's gonna go next. Like I know where he's going, but I don't know what's gonna happen. And I'm also really stoked on a song title. The song title for the second one. I'm stoked on both of them, but this one that I just finished is called "Awaken the Forge," and it was something where I finished the song and then I was just sitting there. I was like, what am I gonna name this thing? And I was walking around my house and I started like cleaning or doing something to just kind of like get away from the desk, and I was like, oh, it's like a forge. Like, yeah. So what's he doing with this forge? Like something the forge, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, awaken the forge. I was like, yeah, that'd be sick. Something like that. And then I was like, kept thinking about different stuff. And then I was like, has that been taken yet? And I got on Spotify and typed it in. Nothing came up. Then I got on Google and typed it in. Nothing came up, even
That's
on Google.
crazy.
Yeah,
and
I
you
was
said it
like,
online.
dude, I know, but hey, I'm the first one saying it.
Yeah,
But
establishing your intellectual property right now.
That's right. And so there was one close, and it was from a game called Pillars of Eternity. This popped up in my Google search, but it was Awaken the White Forge. So Awaken the Forge is never been published, and that's always exciting. That's a little exercise I do with a lot of the time with those sleeper songs is like I'll try to be thinking about a song and I'll Google it until I Google something and it returns no results. I'm like, oh yeah, there we go. I like that.
Yeah, dude, it's tough these days.
Yeah, it is.
I've struggled to find names that aren't taken. Like
it is, man. But I mean, it doesn't matter. Also, like because there's getting so much content out there.
Yeah.
And
for song names, for song names I've given up on that. Like for a band name or for an artist name, for me it was really important, and that one was like a heartbreaker. When you find something that you think isn't taken, and then a month later,
that was
like
a
someone
great
takes
one
it,
too.
like, yeah, I had a couple that way.
I loved that first one. I must say I like Ayumi better.
I think in the end I found the right one.
I think you did too.
You
willing to share your first?
Yeah, because I have it on there. Right now, like when I signed up on Spotify, I had to put in a name for like my record label. It was like if you're an independent, whatever, if you're self-distributed, you got to put in your own name for your record label, Spotify. So I put it in as that Moon Kid.
Yeah, Moon Kid. That's a dope name. This is also a huge glass of wine, and I got the biggest glass I could find in honor of our challenges that we'll be sharing and discussing over last week's topic, romance.
Yes, so, epic.
Just getting moody. But yeah, so finished the second of Sleeper song, getting super stoked.
That's too exciting. Wait, and can you share the name of the other one too, or no?
I don't know. I like sharing one name has got me like already like, did I just do that? But can I do that? Like, was that a good idea, or am I just kind of feeling myself right now? I trust my right guys, but no, I'm not gonna share the first one because I think I'm also gonna name the album after the first one.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But yeah, so that was super exciting, and then the other thing that has just, it's so random, that's been just going in my life now is, and this happened, like I said on last episode, this happened because of my partner in the collaboration. Like he kind of just like pushed me over the ledge on it, and I started skateboarding again. Like I was trying to save money, so I canceled my gym membership. And I was like, man, I really want to stay active. I want to stay. I need something that I can get a sweat on, but running is like the most boring thing in the world, and going and picking up weights is the most boring thing in the world, and having to like rely on someone else to come work out with you for you to work out is like, it's hard logistically. But I was like, after seeing that he's doing it, and I like found my board in my garage, and I bought a helmet because I don't want to die because I'm very clumsy. I started going out, and now it's like a regular thing. And yesterday I went to my first ever skate park
Whoa.
to skate.
Epic, dude.
Yeah.
And you tell me about this. How long were you there?
Okay,
Did you wipe out
so
how many times?
so basically I started oh yeah. So I started just going out to the park. And when I say I skating, I mean I'm trying to stay on the board, but for long periods of time. And it takes a lot of effort for me. So I end up drenched in sweat. and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a great workout. But so I was talking about, I was telling another one of my friends about it, and he was like, dude, I've been wanting to get back into it too. And I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I just found my board. And I was like, let's meet up and skate. And then so I go over to his house, and and another one of our friends is over there already hanging out with him. And he's like, so what are y'all gonna do? And we're like, dude, we're actually gonna go skate some parking lots. And he was like, oh, dude, I got my board in my car. We were like, what? So the three of us end up having this little like under beginner skate sesh.
That's
And
awesome.
it was so fun. But we skated some parking lots for like an hour, and then my friend was like, dude, you want to go to the skate park that's like 2 miles from my house? And I'm like, whew, that's, I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm ready to be seen like this. I don't know if it just feels like a lot of pressure. Also very dangerous for me. But he was like, I know, but why don't we just go check it out? And I was like, all right, let's go. So we went, and there's ramps and stuff like that everywhere. And I started out, and I was like, okay, I've got to go down one of these. I got to try. So I went to the tiniest one, and I just like got up there, and I just kind of like rolled down, and I was like, oh my God. Whew, adrenaline is racing.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up staying for like 2 hours. And by the end of it, I had gone down every ramp at the skate park. Not the quarter pipe stuff where you like actually drop in,
Mm-hmm.
but like the big tall ramps and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was so fun and
Yeah.
such a good workout. And I like my ollie is getting existent, which is cool. I'm not gonna say good. I'm not gonna say close, but I like about one every third try I can do it, and the back wheel is coming off about that much off the ground, but that counts. And I rolled off a curb and didn't fall, and that was really cool, very exciting. So yeah, those are two big wins. Like I'm feeling good.
Yeah, that's awesome. And yours reminded me of some other stuff that was on my mind. Your breakthrough on your song. I mean, we've both been sort of going through this Right Guys curriculum. We've been talking about how we've been breaking through our writer's block and reaching new creative goals. And I guess I have some updates on that as well. Just like,
Oh, let's go. Let's hear it.
yeah, just I've been working on finalizing. I've been trying to put together like the last few pieces on like magnum opus. Like it's like a song that I'm really currently like really obsessed with and think it's like my greatest song ever.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to finish it by next month, by the middle of March, to submit it for like the Tiny Desk contest for like an unknown artist.
I didn't even know they did that.
Yeah. So they have a contest every year, and like unknown artists can submit. And so
And hey, for anyone who doesn't know, Tiny Desk is a phenomenal YouTube series. YouTube series, right?
yeah, YouTube channel kind of thing, like, or like radio show that has a YouTube channel. It's like a concert venue slash recording studio.
Slash music store, it looks
Yeah.
like, you know.
Yeah.
But basically, they bring in musical acts of all walks of life, all genres, all levels of stardom, and everybody has to perform at this desk on, like, there's like one mic in the room and it's sitting on this tiny desk and everybody performs to it. But I'm talking like Mac Miller's on there, Avett Brothers, freaking Adele.
Mm-hmm.
They've got so many people on there, and it's just amazing to see these musicians, how they sound like if there was just one mic in the room. And it's just, then they do like cool like interviews with them in between songs, and it's just a very intimate setting. But oh my God, I would flip if you were on that.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Oh,
I mean, it's just like, yeah, it's something to kind of like look at, and it's a deadline to submit for. And it's, like I'm at a point where I'm like right on the cusp of finishing what I think is really like seminally kind of like sums up a lot of what I've been trying to do with music recently. So it'll feel like I can really put my stamp on this submission.
nice.
If I can get
It really
the song
feels
finished.
like you.
Yeah, and I can't wait to show you
yeah.
this song because I think you'll agree. But it's so tough. Like we've talked about getting those last few puzzle pieces, because it's like
Ooh.
this one is really, really carefully curated, and it's like it's sort of the best of both worlds. Of like, we've talked a lot about things that are projects versus things that are like personal and true, and it's like this is one thing that I've like mined a lot of truth into. But it's like a very, very like specific thing that I wanted to do that I am now like 90% of the way toward having achieved with the song in its current state. And it's like I'm in those last few steps, and so hopefully I'm able to get a Right Guys themed breakthrough on like those last puzzle pieces for this song in the next few weeks.
Congratulations, man. That is so exciting.
But with that and the whole music career thing, I've also just been working on new songs that have just been kind of coming up in life. And there's one that I could play, but I might save until next time if you think it would be more fitting for next week's topic.
It's so good. Ben,
Should I play it now?
Played me a little something on our meetup call before this, and I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay.
I mean, we can't not do it. You're just going to have to play it again. Hey, maybe next week you'll have more to it.
Oh yeah, maybe.
So we were talking about it, and we had two topics that we wanted to go over, which we'll get to. But we'll get to what we chose here in a sec. But another topic that we really want to do that we decided we're going to do next time is honesty in writing, and when to be honest, and how to be honest, and the power of honesty, and all that stuff like that. And Ben was like, oh, I just happen to have something that's very honest for me.
Yeah, I've been thinking about those concepts a lot recently. And sorry, I'm going to be a little away from my mic when I sing this. Hopefully the levels are okay with the guitar. Yeah, it's a song that there's a lot of honesty in, and the song itself is kind of about honesty. And that being a topic that we want to talk about, I mean, we can get into a little about it here, how I think it's so connected to writing, and like performing as well. But writing is kind of a way of performing.
This is a verse, right?
This is a chorus, but
chorus.
Basically, like
that chorus that you're starting to build a song around.
Yeah. All right, ready? I'm lying all the time. It's who I've been my whole entire life. life, my one-way mirror. I can always see you through, but all you'll ever see when you look back at me is my reflection of you.
Mm. Will you say the words?
Yeah. I'm lying all the time. It's who I've been my whole entire life. My one-way mirror. I can always see you through, but all you'll ever see when you look back at me is my reflection of you.
Mm. I'm so glad that you decided to just like rip the filter off and just be vulnerable.
Yeah.
That's powerful. I when you showed me this earlier, I was just like, oh my God, he's saying he's what I said was, dude, you're reading my mail right now. Like, this is exactly what I've been like feeling. And especially after, I feel like a lot of people need to hear that voiced, especially after all the quarantine stuff and just like the weird, the separation of social interaction, like the pulling into oneself of the past like couple years, and then just different personality types, like introverted personality types versus extroverted. It's just, I think it's gonna be powerful, man. I'm excited.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been crazy, and I sort of brought this up a bit earlier, but it's been crazy, like having written something that initially felt so personal and like deeply secret that when I first came up with the idea for this song, like the thought of sharing it with people seemed hilarious. It was just like a thought project of like the moment that I was coming up with it was just totally speculative, as like, this would be if I was actually being honest with people about how like crazy like I actually am, and like
LOL.
Yeah, and then I was just like, what if that's what good art is? It's just people looking at themselves and finding the thing that's like the most extreme and then just not being afraid to share it. And so I was like, yeah, like what would it look like to be an artist that just did write that song and share it? And I was like, that's what I feel like a lot of my favorite artists look like. So like are people sharing super difficult stuff that often involves like pain and like traumas and like other like issues that are going on in their lives, like, so those are things I want to be honest about. Yeah,
like
so
yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, I write this song and I'm like, so it's nerve-wracking, but
Oh yeah.
I show people because honestly, once I have the verse out, I'm more excited about it than I am scared of it, luckily. And so like I can show people, and when I show people, everybody I show says, dude, you read my mind. That's me. And it's like I thought I was trying to look for the most like the least relatable thing, but it turns out to be the most relatable kind of.
Dude, I feel like the best thing an artist can do is seek out what is inside him that is least comfortable, and like bring it to the surface, and like seek out, like, constantly. The second you're creating art comfortably, like, I feel like there's an edge missing there. And if it doesn't like excite you, thrill you, make you nervous, make you scared, you could dig deeper. Like, there's more that you could that there's more you could tell. And it's awesome too. Like, we experienced this, and we'll get to it, but on the writing challenge, we had a submission from somebody who was like, hey, I just wanted to send this in, but don't share it, but I just want to know what y'all think. And then we both read it and we were like, oh my God, this is great. Like, this is important, and then we reached out and we're like, hey, can we share this?
But were you being serious?
Are you really nervous about it? Like, if you are, then we don't want to push you, but we want you to know that we think it's great and we think it's important and it's a powerful message. And it's like, and they agreed to it, so we're going to share it later. But, yeah, the power and vulnerability, like, and vulnerability could be like, it's pretty much just ripping the filter off, like letting someone see what's really on your mind, how you really feel about something, and knowing that it's probably going to make some people shut down. It's also probably going to break through some other people's walls. I think it's beautiful. But yeah, I could keep going on this because this is a whole topic. There's a whole thing.
Right. So
this is not today's topic.
We are going to save that topic for next time.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's awesome, man. I'm stoked that the ball's rolling.
Yeah, it's a fascinating discussion to think about, and from the perspective of honesty as a writer, like we were just talking. You obviously going into just talking about how honest we are with our work and like how those things can connect to people and can be like extremely powerful. But as a writer, what you're doing almost more than anything, a lot of times is like concealing and like creating, like weaving together intricate fantasies and fictions, and like which is like sort of the opposite of telling the truth. And so like how you do those things hand in hand is really fascinating. Obviously that's where like thematics come into play, where like metaphors and what have you. But like that's the topic for tomorrow.
That's honestly, and this is the last thing I'll say about it because I just want to keep going. But that's exactly how, most of my writing has been, is typically like a story, a piece of me with like 2, sometimes 3 layers of metaphor over it. Mm-hmm. And then there's this Easter egg if somebody, and that's something I've been intentional about. And have enjoyed that process, and it allowed me to write things I wasn't initially comfortable with, and be vulnerable in a way, and it kind of constrictively forced me to like to figure out what story would fit this and how I could better hide it and all this stuff like that. But if someone dug deep enough and met me at the show, that was the thing. Like if you met me at the show and asked me like, what is this song about? I didn't say it in interviews. I didn't say it anything like that. Like I would always just stick to the metaphors in interviews and stuff. But if you met me at a show and asked me what the song is about, the first thing I always say is, well, what does it mean to you? And I'll say, well, what it means to me, because I don't think a song really has a definite meaning, because a song is kind of living. It's going to take on new meanings to everybody who hears it. And I don't want to miss the chance to hear someone's take on it, like without my impression on it, without them filtering it through what my meaning was on it. But and then I'll tell them and be like, oh, well, this is what I struggle with, and this is blah blah blah, and then it opens up this beautiful moment of vulnerability. But what I'm trying to do right now is take away a couple layers of metaphor and just and let myself breathe a little bit and be a little bit more vulnerable and be a little bit more specific and be a little bit more. And that has been exhilarating because I just haven't existed in that space. Anyway, we will talk about honesty on the next episode. Get excited. It's going to be great. And we're going to engage on the Discord about this. I want to see if we can get some good chatter about honesty and maybe some cool stories to share from our community. But why don't we announce the topic of today? What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds like pertinent timing.
Okay. All right. So today, this episode is all about the gray. All gray everything is what we're calling this thing, okay? What I mean by that is the importance of gray characters, gray settings, gray plots as opposed to black and white characters, black and white settings, black and white plots. I think that this is something that that is important to be mindful of, and it's something that I struggle with hugely in my writings, where I'll realize that a character that I'm writing that I started out really stoked on, and then as I write them, I just get bored, and I'm like, I don't even want to be on this. I wouldn't want to read this. Like, what's going on? Like, I find like pointless characters, and then as trying to be mindful of it, I start to pick up on really well done, very gray characters in entertainment and literature out today that I thoroughly enjoy, and I kind of start to piece together. I was like, the reason I like this so much is because it's not black and white. And then my radar is definitely heightened for just straight black and white characters, and it's like the second I realize someone's black and white, I immediately lose interest. I'm like, okay, I can fill in the gaps. I know where this is going. You might as well not be there. But yeah. So, what do you think about that?
So there's a ton of like black and white like situations in stories that I think about that come to mind when you bring this up, like, and one that was brought up in the Discord. I think Sky said this. It's like how Slytherin is like, especially because it's noted that they're not supposed to be simply evil. Seems to be like stated and even overstated in the book that like, oh, like, you know, there's complexity to each character, and even, you know, even how Slytherin, like people have multiple, but it's like the irresponsibility of saying that and then never demonstrating it in the plot is like hilarious to me.
That's a great point.
But like I mean, I think there's any number of reasons you could give for it. You know, like it's a children's book with a limited number of pages. You don't have all the time in the world to build out every character backstory, and so it's like, you know, for every troubled kid in Slytherin, there probably is, you know, a backstory technically for how whatever went wrong, and like,
it's a big gap to fill in with your mind, though, or to trust the audience with, or it's just kind of like homework.
But the whole thing is like, you only have the story from Harry's perspective, right? And so it's like he's not friends with any Slytherin characters. You see the people who he's friends with, and so like you get those stories, and you see Draco's story, and
how much more powerful would it have been if he did have a friend who was in Slytherin, though? You know, like didn't like waste it on Hufflepuff. You know,
like true.
I mean, even by the name, you know that it's not going to be threatening, and it's not going to be bad at all.
He didn't even have friends from Hufflepuff either. It's like all his friends are in Gryffindor.
It's true. But like, that's prime example, like of the. Now, granted, we're not talking about what is going to be successful, what's going to like, you know, because it didn't hold J.K. Rowling back from becoming
and
a
the
success.
Children's book, whatever she was doing was definitely enough for like, whatever points across. But to talk about an example of characters that could be more fleshed out,
that you
could definitely see that an example of that, and I think Slytherin's a great.
Okay, so let's just hop on that right away. So let's just spitball some ideas.
Let's talk about Harry's friend who's in Slytherin. I love this concept.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Like, so let's spitball some ideas about how throwing some gray on Slytherin could deepen the story, could like open avenues that she could go down with her writing, could spin off like you know, spin-off series or something like that, like things that were going down, like imagine, you know how they're doing like Riverdale is like a series now. What if I could totally see this happening, like new Netflix series Slytherin.
Dude, that'd be sick.
Everyone would watch it because it's like, oh shit, there's gonna be people in here that I love, people that I'm gonna find out
that
who really
is right now.
Okay, sorry. So Slytherin, the Netflix series, everyone would watch that. Everyone.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yeah. So like, okay, but I mean, the
The
low
snake.
fruit is well. Let's say Draco Malfoy. We have Harry's like antagonist. His like eye level antagonist, right?
Yeah.
I mean, okay, I'm not completely versed. I've seen all the movies, and I also went to the Disneyland park or Disney World park, and I drank real butter beer. So I do, and I got a wand from Ollivander's shop, and he chose me,
Oh.
and he did give me the
Wait,
Elder
this
Wand.
is a story,
This-
right?
I'm
Can
sorry.
you
I'm
tell
sorry.
this
I
story
don't
to-
mean. I don't mean to. I'm not trying to name drop here, but I've been places.
Okay.
Do you want to hear that story real quick?
Uh,
Not that I want to tell it, but
I-
do you want to hear it?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. It is. I'm gonna burn through it. Okay. So there's a rift in Shane and I's friendship because of this moment. Shane absolutely loves Harry Potter to the core. Like read every single book like as soon as it came out. We go to Disney World. We're on tour. We have a few off days in Florida. We get hit up and surprised with someone gifted us tickets to go to Disney World. So we go, and we go to the Harry Potter to the Harry Potter world, and we see Hogwarts and everything, and we drink butterbeer, and which is delicious cream soda. And we go down Diagon Alley, and in all these different places, and we end up at Ollivander's wand shop, and everybody's like, "Oh, we got to get a wand!" Like everyone has to get a wand. Like we're spending. I haven't eaten for like 2 days, so I can buy a wand. And this is the early days of O Sleeper, and we're like, we're sitting there, and they're like, "Oh, the wand, you have to get in line, so you wait because there's a whole thing." Like Ollivander comes down and does this whole production and everything. And they got to reset it, and then the next group comes in. So we're waiting. We sit in line for hours. Get in there, and Ollivander comes down. The dude, it could have been a Broadway actor. It was amazing. And he comes down, and all of us are like, oh, I at this point have only seen like one movie. Shane has read every book, and knows them through and through, and seen every movie and everything. And I just know enough about. I just know the first episode, so I'm sitting there like, or the first movie, and I'm sitting there like, oh, that's the guy, the wand guy, and Shane's sitting there behind me like, and so he comes down. Ollivander does a spiel. And he goes into like the wand has to choose the wizard. And he's like, now I'm sensing something from the crowd. One of you has some serious potential. And he starts scanning, and Shane is like vibrating behind me. Like we're crammed in close, and he's just like, I kind of hear like whimpers coming out of his mouth, like, and Shane's right here, like right behind me, right? And Ollivander's like, and he starts pointing at he and I, and he's like, yes. And Shane's like, he starts leaning on me, and he's like, you to me. He's like, step forward. You have great power within you. And Shane's just like, oh my, he's just devastated. And I get to do the whole thing where like I'm testing out my wand and like shooting books off the shelf, and he's like, Ollivander's clapping for me. I'm living out an actual dream of Shane as he watches with just decimated hopes.
And you're just
from atop his
spell
broken
names.
dreams. Yeah, I'm like Patron and popping stuff, and Ollivander's like, you'll get it soon, gifted one, and I'm like, ha ha ha. And then he picks out, he's like, the wand has to choose the wizard. And then that's the icing on the cake. As if all that was not bad enough. The icing on the cake is that the wand that chose me was the Elder Wand, which is exactly the wand that Shane wanted to buy, and I got it for free.
Insult and injury.
Yeah. And then, anyway, there was one more nail in the coffin, and that's that, like, Jenna, my wife, is a huge Harry Potter fan and was a massive Harry Potter fan. He was just fuming about fuming about everything, and I'm talking about him, and he was like, "You should give me that one," and I was like, "Well, I'm gonna give it to Jenna." She's like, "Ollivander chose you, and the wand chose you. Can't give your wand to someone else." And I was like, "Yeah, but she's the Harry Potter fan." And he's like. He just storms off. I don't think we talked for a couple days after that. But yeah, so I had to, I had to share that.
Thank you for sharing. It's a great story.
Oh yeah, it was it was so good. Anyway, let's take Draco. Let's take Draco in this idea of like let's throw some gray on him. This is Harry's eye level antagonist is how it's played. Now correct me because I don't want to step on Harry Potter lore. It does Draco have like as it progresses?
Yeah.
Does he have like some? Does he get gray on him?
He has depth for sure, and it's like if you're expecting everyone to have equal parts bad and good, you're not looking for a realistic story. In a world where everything is gray, everything being gray meaning some things are pretty black or pretty white.
Yes,
at times, and so it's like seeing
absolutes
seeing
don't
the complexity,
exist,
right?
They don't
so
exist in real life.
Seeing the complexity in Draco is about seeing complexity, and so like he, in my opinion, like by the end of the series, he's sort of rehabilitated. Like you skip forward in time and you see him as an adult, and he's like a responsible person, and like
yeah.
But through like the last couple of books are where you're getting like the like in between of like he's sort of maybe seeing toward like the light, and he's like seeing how evil his sort of family and upbringing have been, but like he's hesitant to like switch sides, and then kind of does at some point. And you see those things play out, but like the more like I don't think you need a redemption arc for it to be complex, and I think that he's a character who they introduced that even beforehand. Just like and this is where it's like, because there is room in realistic stories for things being more, for characters who are more one way or the other. I think like as long as you are seeing why they are the way that they are, and you're seeing the sides of it, it kind of works a lot of the time. And it's like he's someone who screen time was given to him and the characters around him. So like you meet his family, and then you can kind of piece together like his dad's kind of an asshole, and like his like the value system that they have is pretty messed up, and like then you can kind of see how that's pervasive throughout a lot of like the Slytherin bloodlines. And then it's like, oh yeah, these idea structures are sort of what lead to these behaviors, and so you can sort of read into it and see it in those ways. But at the same time, I don't think that we see that represented in most of those characters, and that we don't. I think that more grace could be given to their personalities, where we do see them also making good decisions and bucking their upbringing. Yeah,
maybe the example is better like on like House Slytherin as a group.
Exactly.
Like because that's a thing that absolutely can happen too. And like I remember I loved X-Men comics growing up, and the Brotherhood, the bad guys, Magneto's side. For a while didn't really have like much they were just the bad guys, and you didn't get to know them at all. Like these guys popped out and they also had powers, but you didn't really care about them because one was like a toad, and it was like, oh cool, that's probably not the power I'd want. But and later, like as the X-Men lore like developed, they started like sprinkling it in, which was great. But I feel like that was I don't know, that like it was a necessity. Like you were gonna lose any interest in this conflict if there was no, like, now, the Brotherhood now is like they're fighting for a greater purpose. They're fighting for the mutants, what they actually are, and they want their own freedoms and they want their own everything. And like now it's like it's a gray thing. It's a totally gray thing. Because if you're a mutant, like, you want your freedoms and you don't want your rights taken away, and you also don't want to be looked at. You want to be an equal in society. But the X-Men are protecting, but then they just kind of have this little twist to it where they're a little heavy-handed with it, and then the X-Men are trying to like stop them and create a balance. So now there's like beautiful conflict in it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's because
when
it's
you
gray.
can kind of understand both sides.
Yeah. I felt like I don't know, for like how it would be interesting to see. It'd be interesting like as a whole to see like some gray painted over Slytherin.
Yeah.
And what
you
that would look like, and who you would fall in love with, and
I think you can see it in like I said, like, adding that depth is really about screen time. And so it's like about which characters did they choose to focus on, and where can you see that come in? And that's like Draco and Voldemort, really. Mm-hmm. Snape as well. So we could talk about those, but like, so Voldemort, like, his whole mission, right? He's like, it's like almost Hitler, like extermination of like a race of, like, he wants to basically kill Muggles, which is like super irredeemable up front. It's just like, oh yeah, this is a pretty obvious bad guy, like, but like there are in the books you get into learning about his backstory as a kid, like as an orphan with parents, one of which was a witch and his father was a Muggle, and he blames like a lot of the weakness of like what led to his circumstances on the Muggle side of his family. So he has this big chip on his shoulder of thinking that he's been wronged by this community that is like also weaker and less deserving than he is, because they are not as strong for these reasons. And so for a kid who's like doesn't have necessarily like all the best like love and situation in the upbringing growing up, doesn't have like the best foundations for how to deal with those types of negative emotions, and then has that mixed in with a cocktail of like these different moralistic settings that influence the context of his upbringing, that then you can sort of see how it shakes out to be this super unstable character. I feel like but even in like little moments, it doesn't have to be like massive focus. Like little things can show you depth to a side. And probably is a better way of doing it. Yeah.
You think about like the Quidditch matches, and like Slytherin was always gonna be cheating, always gonna be trying to like mess you up, like always like they were gonna be the rough housing, like they were the ones who were gonna rough you up, like try to knock you off the thing, like team up against you, not even trying to play the game as much as like just trying to sabotage. Easily like one person on Slytherin like helps them up or something like that, like that could be all it needs to push it, because like you said, if everything's like the same color gray, then the same hue, then that's boring too. Like, and it's complex, and I don't even know how you move a story that way, but it's just getting away from stark black, stark white. Like if you can put a dot of white and that black, then it's no longer just black. You know, like and something like that I feel like can make you, I don't know, just relate better, because that's how life is. Like the more you spend with someone, the more you see.
For sure.
Yeah. Anyway, so
yeah. Sorry, did you want to keep going?
No, go for it.
What you were saying about showing it in small ways, like like finding ways to show it in the Quidditch match. It's sort of like what I was talking about before, how the characters who have complexity are just the characters who have screen time, and that's that. That's a very fatalistic way of describing that aspect of the writing process, when in reality there are other creative ways to work around the restriction of screen time. And it's like, if you only have so much screen time, then and you can't add another scene to show why this character is sympathetic, then make them sympathetic with the screen time that you do have. They're in some screen time. Use them in that scene to use someone in that scene to show that not all Slytherins are evil all the time.
Well, imagine this. Like, what if in the first movie, second movies, first book, second book, and this may exist, but I'm just spitballing here. What if like a character that you loved, maybe like an offhand character, like not a main character, but they have a few speaking roles that you see them a couple times, but you really like them, or maybe they're very vulnerable, or maybe they're like a younger kid or something like that you trust. What if that kid happened to just say in one of their scenes, like, "Well, Draco's my best friend," and then you're like, "What? That doesn't make sense. Wait, there must be something about Draco I don't know."
Mm-hmm.
Now whenever I see him, whenever I read him, I'm gonna be, even if I don't ever get it, I'm always gonna be thinking like, man, what's under there that I don't know? Now I'm interested. Now there's like and that's kind of like that. That's what I'm talking about. Like it just adds this layer of depth that I think is needed, and you can add it to. And it can be added to so many different things, like it can be added to characters, it can be added to settings, it can be added to plots, and I wanted to bring this up because to talk about it, like a few different ways to play with that and to kind of break writer's block, like and open up some creativity there, and explore some areas.
Yeah. Well, those are great tips and thoughts for quick and subtle ways to add depth, just throwing it into the scenes, and it's like a great example of showing and not telling.
Yeah. Having a pet that is cute, that loves you get to see maybe you don't get to see the tender side, but it's there, or that really cute dog wouldn't just love them so much, or I don't know. So anyway, moving on from that, there's a couple of really cool techniques that techniques that I've recently learned that I've been trying out, and it's really fun, that I wanted to share. And I thought we could do it in the aspect of a new segment, a new reoccurring segment. Okay? What we're going to do is we're going to build a Right Guys toolbox. Okay? Today.
Whoa.
We're going to start it, and we're going to put our first 2 tools in it.
Okay.
So we're going. I don't know what we should call it. If we're going to the hardware store, if we're going to the tool store. This is the tool shop. Maybe it's tool time. It's tool time.
Tool time.
Yeah, little nod back to the glory days. But probably definitely copyrighted, so we can't use that. I bet, but and we're not selling anything. So, but anyway, so in this segment, and I want to return to it, but I also want to start something on our website that maybe is the toolbox, where we put the techniques in as we discover them, create them, share them. But basically, I want to talk about certain games that you can play with yourself to hop out of writer's block, or to reinvigorate stale characters or settings or plots, and just find new ways to go with them. These two I heard on a podcast that I've been thoroughly enjoying. Basically, when you and I started this, all of our conversations were like, yeah, there's nothing for creative writers. Like, we're gonna be the first. And then pretty much as soon as we released it, I started looking it up, and there's a lot of stuff out there for creative writers and people doing this. And one of the guys that I found was this guy who was very active back in like 2016. His name's Brad Reed, and he's got a podcast called Inside Creative Writing. Highly recommend it. I've been listening to it. And he mentioned this from a book called Tinker Toys, which is basically like a creative business marketing strategies. So basically this guy wrote this book about like different ways to get you thinking outside of the box creatively. And this teacher, Brad Reed, like heard him, was like, oh, actually we could use that for creative writing really well. And so I wanted to share it, and I want to put that in our toolbox. So I'm messing with the name here. Maybe you can help me out, but I really like throw that thing down, flip it, and reverse it, or TTTDFIRT. Probably too long, but I love Missy Elliott, so I just thought it'd be fun to throw in there. But anyway, so in throw that thing down, flip, and reverse it, what we're doing is a reversal. Okay? So for this reversal, we're going to take let's take a character.
Okay.
We're going to so let's come up with a character, a very basic character. I mean like auto mechanic. Or like this is just somebody in your story. We're going to
innkeeper.
Okay, an innkeeper. Perfect. Okay, so the first step in reversals is let's take 3 assumptions that we know about an innkeeper. Mm-hmm. Like things, like basic things that come. Don't think interesting. Don't think like, but just where does your mind go first? Like, what is an innkeeper? What Give me 3 things.
Big burly man.
Okay. Big burly man. Sure. Okay. I'm gonna toss out like basic things about the trade. Okay. An innkeeper takes care of a place where people stay. Mm-hmm. That's pretty basic assumption. Place where people stay.
Usually serves drinks.
Serves drinks. Okay. And yeah, all right, there's 3. Okay. So our characters are going to meet this innkeeper right now. And before you write this innkeeper, you're thinking like, okay, they are meeting this innkeeper, and you're like, okay, so how's this innkeeper going to act? And you're like, oh, he's probably going to be a big burly guy. He probably takes care of a place where people stay, and he's probably serving drinks too. Maybe he's got drinks in his hands that he's walking to tables, and he's like, yeah, they'll be right with you or something, right? Mm-hmm. So what we're going to do about those three assumptions is we're going to reverse each one of them. So totally flip them. So he's not a big burly man. He's a short, skinny man. He's a short, skinny woman. Mm-hmm. And then takes care of a place where people stay. Okay, what else could an inn be where people do not stay at? Maybe like a dog shelter?
That's one.
And then let's see, serves drinks.
Not in
he doesn't
this
serve drinks. There's What's he serving? Maybe he's
It's
the
slop. It's a solid based alcohol that they're
oh
serving.
wow
Like they're
to the
just
dogs. Okay,
well,
hold on. I just threw out
it,
dog shelter, but like let's maybe we could stay on that one for a sec. Okay,
well, it's a dog
it do-
shelter that people can stay at too.
okay,
It's not a nice place. It's just like on the
okay,
outskirts of town.
okay. So maybe the instead of it strictly being where people stay, this is a place where like anything stays. Like this is a
Yeah.
okay. And all right, so this is just a shelter. This is a straight up shelter. All walks of life.
Yeah.
And instead of serving drinks, like maybe she's serving. Maybe she doesn't. She doesn't serve drink. That's the exercise. She does not serve drinks. So maybe so she serves food. And she serves food to them. She serves food. So now we have instead of these, our characters are walking to meet somebody, and or maybe they just met somebody, and this is like building subtext. You don't have to use all this. You don't have to make the story about this, but it's just like if you're already going to be meeting an uninteresting person who's not like that you just kind of I just want to write through this scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like take what you're assuming of this person you're going to see here and reverse it to put some gray on it in your own mind.
Yeah.
So now our characters are not going to see a big burly man who takes care of a place where people stay, serving drinks. We're going to see a short, skinny woman who welcomes all walks of life and brings food to them. Now you could take this like she could be like a Mother Teresa type. She could be like the woman that just never sits down. Like she's just a hardworking woman, and she's trying to like get this shelter off the ground. You know, like she's trying to help her community out. You know, maybe she serves food. Like that's a thing. You know, like an innkeeper, like, oh, I got the best ale in town or something like that. Maybe she's a passionate chef. Maybe that was part of her past life. So you start like fleshing these things out. Now, so after we have the reversals of those, basically you go through. Now we did one of each of these, but the exercise is to like take big burly man and think of like 3 different things that could be instead of a big burly man.
Mm-hmm.
Short, skinny woman. What else could it be?
It could be a robot.
Oh yeah, love that. Okay, and give me one more.
It could be
It doesn't have to be interesting either.
it could be like a trained monkey.
Oh, nice. I love that. And then the shelter, it could be all walks of life. It could be like anyone could stay there. It could be a dog shelter. I like that too. It could be it could be like a pay by the hour type thing. You know, they're not there to stay overnight. It's not an inn. Like they're not like maybe this is a seedy place, you know, where it's
a den
like
of prostitution, a brothel even.
a brothel. Maybe it's a perfect, yeah, a brothel. So now we have a and then serves drinks. What if it's instead serves food? Instead, maybe like opium or something like that, like drugs.
Could be that, yeah.
Like some kind of like enhancing drugs.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you know,
could be
more.
just doesn't serve drinks, and that's a policy that is constantly getting questioned. But it's like it's a big part of just this establishment just doesn't serve drinks.
See, I like that one the most because it makes you be like, why doesn't he serve drinks? And then it's like, what if that's like a part of his past or a part of her past that's like, yeah, can I not get like can I get a beer or something? Like, we don't have beer, and it's like, whoa, now they're reacting different. Now, like, all of this, there's all this color in the backstory, and this could all be in your back pocket. Like, it could be a robot running a dog shelter, that distributes drugs to the dogs to like help calm them down or something like that. Or maybe it's euthanizing the dogs. I don't know. Like, but either way, like it can just take you immediately out of, and you run the exercise to see what doesn't work, and then you find what works, like, so it's like, okay, maybe that's not where I want to take that. That's not where I want to go with this story. Okay, what about this one? And now you have like 3, 3, and 3 that you can mix and match. That maybe all that does is just breaks your writer's block to cue a better idea. But maybe you find something in there that you really like. So
That's really cool.
Yeah. So taking that, like I said, that's a character way, but what about a setting? So let's see. Let's say like the beach. Okay. What are 3 assumptions of the beach? Our characters are going to the beach.
Yeah. So you assume that it's going to be like sunny and sandy.
Yes. I was thinking that too. The first thing I went to was like sunny. It's in the daytime.
Yeah. Yeah. Sunny and warm.
Sunny and warm. I guess I don't have to put sunny and daytime because that. Sunny and warm. Okay. What's another assumption of the beach?
There's going to be, I think the other 2 would maybe be water and sand.
Water. Oh,
water's a big
great
assumption.
One.
There's going to be
that's a
an
huge
ocean.
One. Yes. And I typically, if you're going to the beach, like, I think it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, you're expecting to at least be preparing for that.
Yeah, yeah. Whenever you hear that they're
assumption.
going to the beach, you're thinking like, oh, this is going to be a good moment.
Yeah. It's somewhere you go to celebrate, not necessarily like, oh, difficult things need to happen at the beach.
Right, exactly. I got something serious I need to talk to you about. Let's go to the beach.
Yeah, there's
Bring
a
your
problem
flippies.
that can only be dealt with at the beach.
Bring your swimmies and flippies. I need to talk to you about some serious shit. Okay, so now we've got those are we got sunny and warm. We got water's going to be there and a good moment. And when I talk about these assumptions reversals, they don't have to be congruent with each other. They don't have to exist in the same universe, in the same story. Like, but let's see. Like, okay, sunny and warm. What are some 3 ways we could reverse that? So obviously, night and cold.
Yeah, night and cold, like a frosted, frozen, frigid.
Frozen. Night and frozen. Like raining and windy.
Yeah.
And yeah, we don't have to go through all of them to keep it moving, but just think about this. This doesn't have to alter what happens in the scene. It just gives an opportunity to show how your characters deal with it. Like, let's say like you're writing, like, and they're gonna go to the beach, and you feel yourself sliding down this, like, okay, so they're gonna get their flip flops, and they're gonna get their towels, and they're gonna get their this, and like they're gonna have this conversation about how they think they should have a baby finally, and it's like, okay, if you find yourself sliding into it and you find like your setting's boring, it's like, okay, what if it was night and it was frozen, and they were going to the beach, and they were still going to talk about maybe it's time to have a baby, and they're having a good time, but they're so cold, and they're bundled up, and they brought blankets and stuff like that, and like they're slipping on the. I've actually never been on snow on a sand, but maybe it freezes somewhere. But maybe like it. all of a sudden the setting is now providing these interesting ways that your characters can interact with it, and sparks the imagination where now I'm like thinking about like these two people I love having this great conversation in this very uncomfortable setting that is totally contradicts like the norm for that. It defamiliarizes you with the beach and makes it a whole new experience that you haven't seen anyone else in. So you go on like and do the same exercise with like water. Okay, the water's not there. Like what? Maybe it's pulled back. Maybe the tide's so far back and the water's not where you thought it would be, and maybe it's revealing stuff, or maybe it smells terrible now because of that, or whatever. Maybe it's not a good moment that you're about to. Maybe you don't know what kind of moment you want them to have there, but you want them to go to the beach. What if they had the tough talk at the beach? Like that would be like you're trying to have this conversation, but then like a frisbee lands in there, and like you have to interact with people. Oh, here you go. Yeah, sorry. So anyway, this isn't gonna work, and then it's like, like it makes it so.
Your sandwich.
Seagull eats your sandwich. When you get broken up with, like, could it be a worse day? And then it starts raining and freezes, and the water goes away. I'm just kidding. But anyway, that's the idea of that, and you could also do it with plots, and in the same way, like your character's creating a decision, a big decision, like he's gonna, like someone pulls a gun and you're like okay, well he's this guy, so he's gonna step in front of this person, or he's gonna like stand up. Someone pushes him, he's gonna stand up. It's like. Is that just reflex? Are you reflex writing? Or what if you took exactly what you thought he was going to do there? Or what if you took exactly what you thought this bully was going to do who walked up and had him do something different? Or at least hopped in his head and had him work through it. So that is throw that thing down, flip it, and reverse it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, just having that basis of like, because I have this vague notion in my head a lot of the times when I'm sort of coming up with it. I mentioned innkeeper because that's one of the most common things for me to have to come up with in like D&D on the fly.
Yeah,
is like
Creve was a great innkeeper, by the way.
Thanks. And so like coming up with that's just one of the ones that has come to mind. That's been like. I've had times that I've had enough time to come up with them. I've had times that I've not had enough time to come up with them. But almost always there's a moment where I have this like, let's look at what the expectations are and try to defy those expectations.
Yes.
And usually
it's like you have this sense that you're like, I'm about to write something boring.
Right.
And like, I think I need something here. I need something.
Yeah.
This is just a way you can kind of get the juices flowing.
And it's like usually my brain will take one or two things or kind of a blanket like way that the personality would be and just like kind of just reverse that one factor in like a broad way. But I think that this like having three specific things that you look into, and then I like that each of them you also do in three different ways. Super interesting, like having those matrix of possibilities of how the robot could be giving those dogs some like euthanizations versus like a trained monkey serving like food to,
and it's like a display, like it's kind of like a circus type thing, like we can go to this place and this trained monkey will serve
in
us.
this like menagerie where all are welcome in this like outskirts bar where it's just like all these races come together to watch the monkey serve drinks. And it's like those are two completely different worlds that could be satisfying the same thing if the characters just needed to find the place to stay for the night and having to interact with the being that watches over that place.
Yeah. Like it's not to derail your story, and it's not to compromise or break the connection to a character. You basically kind of do this and then just pick one that fits. Maybe you just pick one, even just being like big burly man. Okay, she's a short skinny woman who's just tired, like the opposite of like a well-fed strong, dude. And it's like okay, well, she's gonna definitely respond to your characters completely different than this big burly man would. Even if you just took one of them. What if it was a big burly man, but he was running a dog shelter? What if this big burly man didn't serve drinks, he just served food, and he was very proud of his food. You don't need drinks with my food. It's juicy enough, and it's like, what? like he's gonna respond completely differently now. But at the very least, it breaks you out of those little speed bumps. Okay, so whenever in that podcast, the guy gave this example of he was talking about a restaurant. He was like, I got these two characters, and they're gonna have this conversation. I know they need to have this conversation. I just have them going to a coffee shop, and I just can't stop. Like I just know there's more there. I just don't want them to go to a coffee. Everyone goes to a coffee shop to have a conversation. It just sets the tone too easy, and like you just know what it's gonna be. And basically he was like, okay, so they're going to a restaurant, it will say, and he's like, all right, so what does this do? And it's kind of similar to where we went with things, but it was like, he was like, okay, assumptions I have about a restaurant. They're going to sell food for money. They're going to advertise. And they're going to have a storefront or something. It was something like that. And that basically what he ended up creating was they were going to this. He kicked everything out except for that they don't advertise. He was like, that's cool. That would fit into my universe. And so they ended up not going to a coffee shop. They went to like a super hip, like only a certain amount of people knew about it, and it was crowded. And they had the same conversation, but it was just, there was so much more to play off of, and they were bumping into people, and they had to get close, and like they couldn't believe that they were there, and that was like some banter to lead up to the conversation.
Yeah,
and it was better than like, I'll have a flat white.
Yeah, the location has a personality.
Yes.
Whereas like the coffee shop is just completely just a known quantity of like zero
it's a
factors.
Black and white. It takes zero imagination to imagine yourself at a coffee shop.
Yeah, and it's immediately like you tell me that there's about to be a scene in a coffee shop and my eyes are starting to glaze over.
Oh yeah.
It's just
and what coffee shop do you go to? Do you go to a cool coffee shop or do you go to a Starbucks? It's like, okay, so now they're at a Starbucks. Great. Like this is gonna be sick. Wonder where they're going after this. But it's like, that's like a example. I mean, we went to the extremes with ours, but that was like an example of how, like, I was like, oh man, that's so sick. Like you do the footwork for all three, and you kind of try to just be as base level as possible. Just like, boom. I'm not trying to think of like the most interesting thing. I'm just thinking like, what casually would be like different than that? What's casually some assumptions I have? And then like, that doesn't really fit. That doesn't really fit. That one does. I'm going to run with it. And then you have a much more colorful scene.
I'm remembering that one of the submissions this week was in a coffee shop, and it was actually one of our favorites.
Yeah, it was. It was.
It's one of the ones we're going to be reading.
And I want to talk about that too. But they made the coffee shop necessary.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's an integral part of for sure.
Like this is kind of thinking about places like they could be anywhere. Why are they there?
Yeah.
Or whatever. Okay, so that's tool number one that we're putting in our toolbox. But you don't need a toolbox for one tool. You need it for multiple tools, right? So let's toss another one in there too, just to get it started. This next tool, was inspired off of the same podcast I was listening to, or from the same book, this Tinker Toys book about creative business marketing, techniques, and they call it, or they called it random metaphor. I'm going to call it roll a roll.
Mm-hmm.
ROLLAROLE. Okay? So I'm going to need you to do something for me real quick. I need you to pull up a random word generator. I'm going to send you a link to one. And now for everybody listening, random noun generator specifically. Just go to Google or whatever search engine you like, and you don't have to use a search engine if you're really good at just totally detaching yourself from your story and thinking of random stuff. But I can't do that, so I will always influence my decision. And it's best if this can just be totally random. And you could even use a person. Hey, give me a random noun right now. But say random. Right now I'm on Google. I'm typing in random noun generator. Okay.
Okay.
I see one right here, and I'm gonna pick it. Okay. So, do you have one, Ben?
I've gone to randomwordgenerator.com.
Oh, I like that. Is it noun? Is it specifically noun?
It is a noun generator, yes.
Okay, so it's a noun generator. Great. All right. Before we dive in here, it would help to have a subject. Okay. We're talking. Okay. Like one of my. Do you have anybody in your in a story that you're writing right now that, you just get to like to working on them, or they're a character in the story that just doesn't have life. It's just, and you just kind of write through them, or that you want to revive, or that you want to bring more color to. Anything that you can think of?
I have stories from the past.
Yeah,
Definitely.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Pick
The
a
main
random
character
character
for my
that
screenplay.
the main character.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what's his like? Give us a rundown of this main character.
His name is Trenault. He's trained to be ruthless. So like the way that you defeat the enemy in the world that he's from is by killing your own allies while they're locked in submission by the enemy. And so he's trained from a young age to be someone who will be capable of making those kinds of decisions. And in the end, the way I think he comes across on screen a lot of the time is just stoic anime sword boy. Like, doesn't have too much of like a personality. And you see this in a lot of big sword characters, which he is one of. And it's kind of like like they're like the strong, silent, but like he's supposed
badass, but fearless.
Yeah. But then
always
also
willing to risk it all.
It's like also a lot of times like it's not just like a total like Rambo mentality. Like there's some sense of like reluctance of like the heroes, like he's a little too reserved. Like he doesn't want to, like this isn't a lot of like the anime protagonist or something. Like this is like a Cloud Strife. That's sort of the way I think of. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. So let's take Trenault.
Mm-hmm.
And is he the leader of the pack? It's been a while since I read the screenplay.
No, he's not.
Okay. All right. So if you had to give like a description of like, all right, Trenault is the blah blah blah, the blah blah blah, the blah blah blah, like is he a mercenary? Kind of like a gun for hire, or
he's like he's a trained fighter. He's like,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. He's like bred for a purpose.
Yeah.
Okay. And is he traveling in a party?
Yeah.
Okay. He's not the leader of that party, though.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Do they know about his abilities and stuff? Did they know that
don't
he's ruthless or that he's
not
trained for this?
Not really. Like
Okay.
they know that his teacher is the one who was able to defeat these monsters before, so they're hoping that he has some tricks up his sleeve, but no one knows like how directed and why his training.
Oh, they know that teacher defeated, but they don't know how. They just know
Yeah.
that he may know how.
Yeah.
And he knows. Okay.
He doesn't actually know. But like
Okay.
he'll make the decision when the time comes because he's been trained to make those kinds of decisions.
Okay.
Is sort of
So-
what the teacher's banking on.
How does he like what stales him out to you in like in interactions and
I don't know how to,
like,
dude.
if you were to throw Tanault into like X scenario, like what is it? Does it just kind of auto write and you're like yeah, that was
he auto writes into like nothingness. He's too like he wouldn't say anything because like he's thinking about his quest and like it's like he doesn't. To me, like he doesn't have too many like points of personality outside of the plot that I wrote for him.
Okay.
And so it's
cool. All right, perfect. Okay, so now let's go back to let's pull out our roll tool and go to the random noun generator. And I want you to just generate a random noun.
just one. Do I do 3? I can put in a number here.
Well, I want you to be at like I want you to cut Tanault out of your head completely, and like I want you to just get a noun.
Okay,
one
noun.
Yeah.
Hall.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so a hall. So this exercise is to defamiliarize yourself with your own story so that you can bring fresh response and take on it and everything. And we're specifically focusing on a character. You can do this with the same thing, like character setting, plot, whatever. But we're going to say, okay, how can we okay, still not thinking about Tanault at all. Let's just think about a hall. Totally separate. What are some characteristics of a hall?
It's long and it has lots of entryways and exits.
Long. So and then yeah, lots of entries and exits. I think about like echoing. Like there's an echo. Let's think.
Can definitely be cavernous.
Yeah, cavernous. Let's think. Is it like they're very common? I mean, everywhere's got halls. Let's see. Everyone uses a hall. Everyone's used the hall, right?
I guess. Yeah.
I mean, probably if you live indoors, you have. Let's see. I mean, that probably goes along with very common, but I like that kind of touch to it. Let's see. Anything else we can think about halls? Like you're in the hall. It's a. You don't stay in a hall.
Right.
It is totally purpose built. Like it's like you use it. What's a good word for that? It's like a.
It's not a destination.
Yes.
It's,
you don't stay in a hall.
It's a route.
It's a route. Yeah, I like that. It's a route. Okay, cool. Okay. So now we have long could be, long could also be deep. Like these are just like things that spark to our mind when we think about a hall, totally detached. Long, deep, Lots of entries and exits. We'll just start with the first one. Long and deep. Okay. How could Trinault be long and deep? How could Trinault be more like a hall? Like, what would long and deep mean for Trinault? Like, why? Like, I like you. You think about you said that he's. I'm thinking about all these that we just said. We said long and deep. We said lots of entries and exits.
I'm already thinking about with long and deep. I feel like that tells me make his like silences and his resignation, his more quiet side, make it more intentional. Like, because he has this sort of like unknowing quietude that is like lacks confidence. And I think like I could show his keenness in moments that he's quiet. Like he could be like watching something and then like adjust something and actually like change something in the environment without saying something, but just showing that like he is watching and conscious. Because like that is what quietness is, goes hand in hand with the fact that you actually are focused on something else a lot of the time. So this long and deep. Yeah.
This just like to pair with it, the echo with long and deep, like another like modifier you could tack onto it if it felt right, is like he could have voices echoing in his head, like what he should do to what he wants to do. And like there is this sincere depth to his quietness because so much is going on in him that he can't, like, he's trying to like, he can't decide like between like what I want to do to what I've been told to do to what I think that they want me to do, which, oh my God, like that is something that we can all relate to. Like that's something that hearing, like reading, watching a character who is constantly battling like what they feel like the world thinks they should do versus what they should do, battling all the voices in their head and their own self-doubt being one of those, maybe their own pride being one of those. How many voices do we have in our heads? You know, like it could be echoing like these things, you know, or is it one thing that was said to him that constantly echoes in this hall? And it's just like every time like he wants to do something, this thing echoes back and slaps him with it, and it like stops him. But you know, those are two of the ones that we came up with, the long and deep, and I think that either one of those or both of them together would bring awesome depth. Lots of entries and exits, and we don't have to keep we don't have to keep all of these, but like we'll pause on it for a second. What could that mean? Or is that better kicked out?
I mean, like things that could mean, like that definitely could mean a character being more active in whether they're like leaving or entering scenes, like when
like more like literal, like he's just like there 1 minute, gone the next.
Yeah, like it could be. That's cool. If this isn't the main character, you know, then you could work in like, oh, this character's always like showing up at random times, or like, or just he says something
and your character like looks over and he's not there and he's like, what? Oh well.
Yeah, I think like a character constantly like showing up in the middle of a scene and like making you question like, where were they?
Yeah.
For the
and not giving explanation, because you don't explain why a hall has a bunch of entries and exits. It just does. But when tacked onto like a person or a setting or a plot, it's like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah. And maybe you do explain it eventually.
Yeah. It sets it up to where you can or not, but it's in the subtext, which gives you this meat, this underlying like depth to it.
So that's a good one, I think.
Yeah.
Entries and exits.
Yeah. Cavernous. So I think that kind of is long, deep, cavernous. Yeah. This is an interesting one. Very common. What if like he's only special to them? And maybe they don't know that, but he's actually a dime a dozen, and there's tons of the people out there like him. But he hasn't led on to that because he's never felt special before.
Yeah, and I see it like with any like main character, I think there's going to be a million ways that you're like already making them unique and setting them apart in your head and forgetting that like everyone is a person. And at the end of the day, like there's going to be a million things about him that are probably totally average. And so
Mm-hmm.
like keeping that side of it in mind and like cuz I think that's something with him like I did want him to do these kind of like awesome like combat feats and all these like crazy things that show off like a less human element,
Mm.
and then bringing back like more commonness and more normalness probably would be a good idea, like.
Mm. I loved a good example of that, like bringing commonness to a seemingly absolute. Um, Seeing Superman around other Kryptonians, and you're like, oh, all Kryptonians are like this. Like this was a race of people.
Mm-hmm.
Like taking the fantastic and making it common somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a really cool
Yeah,
exercise.
yeah. Just showing where something that's been totally unique and one of a kind, showing where that thing is dime a dozen in common, and
Hmm.
where like because everything comes from somewhere, right? And so it's
And
like,
dude, that is that touches on something that we've talked about a few times already, and we talk about I've talked about a few times just together separately about like how to break the ceiling, like breaking the ceiling, like create a ceiling for your audience and then break it,
mm,
and then create another ceiling and then break it, and then create another ceiling and then break it. Like this is a great way to do that. Like this little hall example was a great way to do that, bringing up the idea of making something that's like so unique and special, and then be like, and like after you know for a fact that Superman is the most special person that's ever existed ever, and then show that, oh, like he was just a baby from this like from this whole planet of them, and it's like, oh my god, like everything just got bigger. And if that happened in one planet, then like, oh, we live in a universe of countless billions upon billions of planets. What else could be out there? Like it just kind of anyway. Next one we had was everyone uses them. That's kind of like common, but kind of he's a trained fighter, like if everybody uses this person, it kind of goes along with what we were talking about. Like if not to alter your story, but just like in the subtext, in his silence, he knows that he's not as special as everyone thinks he is, and it's like, and if he's not that special in his own mind, and everyone uses these people, then there's probably lots of room for error, and there's probably a lot of people who've been trained this way that just failed.
mm,
But they only heard about the guy who trained him, who just so happened to be the best one he ever knew, but doesn't necessarily mean that he inherited all that greatness. It just means he was a student.
mm-hmm.
But they don't see him as that, and maybe he's enjoying that, but at the same time terrified at not letting them know the truth. Could all be left in subtext, but would absolutely motivate his actions and responses. Um, and then a root could also mean like,
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's either how they're seeing him or how he sees them or how he fears they see him.
Yeah,
Like he's
that
not
one.
making real connections.
Yeah, that definitely could be it. It could also be any, like I think the root thing could be anything kind of about journey before destination.
Oh yeah.
It sort of can widely cover that concept because I think you could think about his philosophy for the quest
Mm-hmm. What
being
is he?
about.
Yeah. If he is so just focused on the quest all the time, what does he get out of that?
Mm-hmm.
Like in that moment, what is he getting out of it? Like if he really doesn't fear death and everything, then he doesn't really have a destination. Or like it is all about the journey, but what does he get out of that?
Mm-hmm.
And or you basically assume that he does get something out of that. He gets something great out of it. He gets a whole life's purpose out of it. So what would the silence mean? Is he savoring the moment? Well, that would change your disposition. That would change
Mm-hmm.
how you looked, act, all that. Is he just trying to get to the next moment? I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, that is roll. And we can do it. That would just turn out to be a great one. But like basically try it, like just sit with it for a little while and come up with stuff, and then break down each one of those just as an exercise. And then like if you're kind of looking at it and you're like, oh, all those are cool, but oh man, that was actually got some good ideas flowing. I'm going to do it again. New random word. Okay, I'm going to throw all those aside and just look at this. And like you could do this all day and you're going to come up with something badass and different from your character. The example that I heard when it was explained to me was it was like this cyclist, this leader of a cycling group, and he was writing him, and he was like, yeah, I'm just seeing this leader, and he's just kind of like, he's the best, he's the leader, and he's like, he's kind of a dick. This is like a famous cycling group, like he's probably like got it all going on, like he doesn't want for anything, like he's at the top of the pack, and he's kind of closed off. And he did the random word generator, and he got canoe. And he was like, okay, what do I know about canoe? Like, it's made out of wood. My only experience with one is that they're very unstable. It's been around for a long time. Like, that mode of transport has been around longer than most other ones. And then he's like, okay, so in these regards, how is my leader of my cyclist group? Oh, out of all boats, like it's probably one of the cheaper ones you can buy. And he was like, so how can my leader of my cyclist group be more like a canoe without breaking the story, but inspiring me to write his reactions and interaction, his subtext? Mm-hmm. And he was like, okay, so yeah, he's the leader of the pack, but he's also cheap. Like he just won't spend money. Like, and like maybe if he's cheap, then maybe his clothes are like, maybe his shoes are a little worn out, and everyone else is, it's kind of like this weird color about him where it's like, dude, he's beating everybody on a bike that's 2 years old. Like there are faster bikes out there. He's still like, and then it's like, why is he cheap? Or it's like, he's been around for a while, and he was like, I didn't have an age on this guy, and I thought about canoe, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna make him older, but he's still killing it. And it's like, okay, he basically went down the list and like applied all these things. He was like, now I have a character that I actually want to get in and write this guy, because I'm like,
yeah.
And it was when it was just a dead end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really cool. I already feel like I like Trinault more, and
Awesome.
I think it's a really cool exercise, and I'm excited. Are we going to be using this for the challenge?
I would like to. That's what I was thinking. Like we could use these. I think that we established the toolbox, because these can be used while you're writing your story.
Oh, yeah.
Without affecting it's not like, okay, here's to help you out with your story, cut 500 words. Like we don't have to do that. That's too much pressure. But like this is just kind of like tools that I would also like to use as modifiers. I think they could definitely be in the modifier pool.
Yeah, cool. And so do you want to get into last week's challenges?
Yes, absolutely. I think we should definitely do that.
Cool. Well, I have some to read from the community. We've started the Right Guys curriculum, obviously, and after last week, which is basically for anyone who wasn't tuned in last week, if you write 5 submissions in a row and you complete the challenges and you have a 5 challenge streak following all the rules, then you will be invited on the podcast as a guest here on the screen to talk about what that has done for your creative process and how the regular, consistent creative challenges have affected your creative engine overall. And it's been great. Since announcing that last time, we've got a lot of submissions this week, and a lot of people are excited about the curriculum. And there's too many for us to read all the ones that we like. So we're genuinely sorry. We're going to be cutting it off at like probably reading through like 5 or 6 things total today, including me and Micah's. And yeah, I mean, we're already pretty strapped on time. So let's just get right into this. The first one I'm going to read is a submission that came in under the name Low B. Low B.
Low
And
B.
The title is Reverie of Flights.
Love it.
No shadows fall in the sweet morning air. I run my hand along the faded paint and aluminum skin, feeling every ripple, every divot under my fingertips. Pure excitement courses through me, making my way around in a meticulous practice pace covering every inch. The azure sky is now streaked with shades of pastel pink and softly glowing orange. I unlatch the door, the portal to a perfect cocoon of necessary things. Austere, simple, practical, magical. As the familiar scents swirl around me, my breath slows despite rising excitement. Deep inhale. Hold it. The sharp, rich smell of fuel and asphalt meets decades-old cloth seats, plastic and painted metal, all lovingly baked in the Texas sun since before I was born. It takes me all the way back to childhood, enthralled with my grandfather as he shared the wonder of flight with me. I pause in the singularity of this experience, the simplicity of this pleasure, the promise of something unreal. My story, my own. My own story now. Exhale inside the cocoon. I complete a small list of tasks, each one bringing me closer to this modern version of Daedalus's dream. Finally, everything is set. A brief turn of the key, a sudden shudder, and the morning silence becomes a distant memory. The little craft makes its first declaration against gravity. I implore the voice of someone I do not know to grant me passage to the heavens. He sits in his tower, presiding over all his eye can see. Today he is benevolent, and I have my wish. 412. I hear myself through the headphones as I give my response. I begin the short, bumpy trip on awkward wheels to the end of the runway. Once there, a few more tests to assure I will return to Earth safely. A final request to the benevolent voice. The voice relents. I acknowledge, breaks off. Push the throttle until it stops and turns into the wind. The muffled sound in my headphones belies the absolute cacophony as the little craft in full voice transforms the cocoon into its true form as we reach together for the clouds. Alone, I now have audience with the sun as she breaks the horizon, spilling her virgin rays onto the landscape below. We talk for a while, she and I, and speak of our travels until she climbs above me, adamant to continue her own journey. I know my feet must soon return to earth, but my soul lives ever in the blue sky.
That is gorgeous.
Yeah, it's cool how, I mean, like, you obviously have a submission this week that's about romance, and so you...
And we had a sideboard.
Yeah, you have a sideboard to avoid... and what the sideboard is doing is hopefully avoiding the most tropey romance type situations, ideally. And, you know, It wasn't a huge sideboard, but at least gets you thinking about what are some out-of-the-box romance type scenarios that you can imagine. And one of those things, a man and his craft, or like just like human to object, or like career or craft relationship.
Passion.
Yeah, passion, artisanship, like something that involves skill, or like a hobby, or like something that involved that you can get immersed in. And what you have as a technique to show that this is romance, and that's really interesting to me, I think, is like how it's all sort of under this spell. Like the narrative never breaks a certain voice of like, it doesn't ever just give you the rub straight up. It's not just telling you like he turns on his radio and talks to the guy in like the command center.
Yes.
Like nowhere does it just say the thing. It's like all
You're
waxing
constantly swept
this
up
like
in the
poet.
moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And like like the romance is in like the voice, and it's like told in the telling.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think it demonstrates another trope that us as writers fall into all the time, and that's at and it's something that you want to believe, but is not true. That romance is reserved, like true romance is reserved for two souls connecting, like two people, you know. But that's not necessarily true. Like someone can have a deep connection to their passion, and they can get everything out of that passion that that you would see in like that you would read in some of the most beautiful love poetry. You know, like there every relationship, every life is a thumbprint, and there's everything you can imagine out there, just like the stars in the sky. And this is really cool. Like it's definitely reading someone who's truly like them enacting their passion is truly a soul fulfilling thing. Like they are enraptured with the moment. And that is what, you know, that's what you hope for in romance. You want to be enraptured in the moment with someone or with something. Like that's beautifully done. Well done, Low B.
Yeah. Well done.
Okay.
Your turn.
I am going to read. Let's see. So I'm going to read Shannon. Let's see. Is there? Yeah. Okay. We got Shannon P. Okay. She didn't like coffee shops. Her internet was down, and the cafe across town had a neon sign in the window that read "Free Wi-Fi." One London fog, please. She ordered, her eyes on the menu rather than the man behind the counter. When there was work to be done, she hardly noticed anyone. He had noticed her, however. She carried a laptop bag so heavy it made her shoulders uneven. Her hair was slicked back in a ponytail so tight it tugged at her scalp. He enthusiastically reached for a paper cup. "Can I get your name?" "Do you need a name?" "I suppose I don't. If you feel like that would violate your confidentiality," he said, chuckling. "Can I get you anything else?" "No, thank you," she said, finally allowing herself to look the barista in the eye. He met her coldness with an unexpected warmth. His smiling eyes dug crow's feet into his young, freckled face. On his apron, stained with coffee grounds, was with a name tag, which read Drew in permanent marker. "All righty," said Drew. "One London fog, the best one of your life, coming right up." She reminded herself that someday she'd be a successful lawyer making six figures. Boys whose rent money came from tip jars couldn't occupy space in her mind. Yet, as a warm voice called out, "London fog," one did. She opened her laptop, but couldn't ignore the turning in her stomach, begging for more overpriced drinks in paper cups. "What are you doing in a coffee shop?" she asked him one day, after ordering her usual. The cafe had become part of her weekly, then daily routine. What do you mean?" he asked, dropping a bag of Earl Grey into her cup. "Not to be forward," she said, "but you seem so good with people. You could really make it in the business world or doing something more important." Maybe. That sounds more harsh than I meant it to. "Coffee is where life happens. What could be more important than that?" "I don't drink coffee." "That doesn't surprise me, Miss London Fog." For weeks, those words rang in her mind like church bells, distracting her from her studies and killing her ambition. Her daydreams abandoned scenes of winning court cases in favor of intrusive visions of making coffee alongside a freckle-faced boy with kind eyes and kinder words. The more she fought them, the worse they got. She fantasized about quitting school, hating how happy the thought made her. She imagined a life of financial struggle alongside a tender person whose hands would be frequently empty but always warm. Her mind painted a picture of a smiling baby with freckles on his face, calling her mommy. Drew was stunned by her appearance that morning. Her crooked shoulders were pulled back straight, without the weight of a laptop bag. Her hair fell loosely around her collarbones in waves. "I'd like a cappuccino, please." "Could I get your name?" "Marianne."
Yeah, that's a great one. I was really hoping that we would get some that's just like we get to see like classic romance scenarios play out, like of like those opening scenes. Like those are oftentimes my favorite. Is like the meeting scenes and things. So it's really nice to have gotten.
Man,
Thank you very much for this submission. It's really excellent.
absolutely, Shannon. I thoroughly enjoyed this. This was I got choked up reading this, and the first time, and I actually started getting choked up this second time too. But just it really captured the turning point. It's always the turning point that gets me, when it's like, when I guess that ceiling breaks of a person, when a person starts to change, especially like when love changes a person.
Yeah.
And when where I really like just noticed being like, oh my God, is that I felt like Shannon really captured this, her daydreams abandoned scenes of winning court cases in favor of intrusive visions of making coffee, of winning court cases in favor of intrusive visions of just making coffee along a freckle-faced boy with kind eyes and kinder words. And then she drives it home with, I think my favorite line was, she imagined a life of financial struggle along a tender person whose hands would be frequently empty but always warm. And it's like, I think that's beautiful, because I think it's an important thing. You know, I think that's an important love. Like, there's so many love stories out there, but like, what's the important one to you know, there's like, you know, the knight killed the dragon and gets the girl. There's the rich man sweeps the you know, the sewer rat or whatever, you know, like whoever the wretch off, or the rich person sweeps the wretch off their feet and takes them into a life of wonder and romance. And then there's the like, maybe I abandon what the world's telling me is going to be happy, and I look at what's right in front of me that I feel in my soul is what I need.
Yeah.
And like, maybe we just make coffee. Maybe I just make, instead of being a lawyer, I just make coffee and be okay with it, because I have this. And I think it's beautiful. It's so romantic.
Yeah. I think that the line with kind eyes and kinder words, I think is really great. It's like one of those moments, like, you think of all the ways that you can express something like that.
Yeah.
Like, and there's like eloquent ways to do it with like a lot of flowery syllables that sort of get the point across, and maybe could like rhyme and be really like, but like, I think that like there's all these approaches of different levels of directness and simplicity, and like using the same word in two different forms is like getting down to one of the most like conversational, like intimate tones that you can get. And it's this really nice balance and counterpoint to like where I tend to go a lot of the time with romance, which is like a perfected image of some type of meter, and like,
Same.
like it's like a flowery, it's like a show.
Yeah, it's pedal to the metal.
And this is like, it's what she's doing is like the opposite of a show for that exact purpose.
And like that, the line with like, I could commit myself to a life of frequently empty hands, empty but warm hands. It's like, I see you for the flaws, or what, you know, whatever the world would say is a flaw. Like this isn't perfect, but it is. And that is like, that's a message that everyone needs. Awesome, Shannon. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I'm going to
Okay,
go
I want to share
ahead.
the sideboard real quick. So
Yes.
the sideboard. So again, this challenge was just write something romantic. Did we have a word cap? I don't think we had a word cap,
It
did
was
we?
500.
Okay, maybe I passed that up.
Yes.
So the so the I'll buckle down. I promise. This is two weeks in a row. So it was write something romantic, anything, and it had a sideboard. You could not use love, kiss, romance, hug, beautiful, pretty, heart, flowers, miss, or touch. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So
this
far,
next
both
one.
check out.
This next one is called "May I Have This Dance." This is from Jameson. May I have this dance? The man's wrinkled hand, palm up, was extended toward his bride of 62 years. He didn't need to ask. In their many years together, her answer had always been the same, but it wouldn't be right if he didn't pursue her even now. It wasn't just a pattern, it was a courtesy. If he learned anything in their time together, he learned that intimacy does not grow in familiarity, but in commitment. In the other room, the vinyl hummed a tune, a harmonic and holy hymn. This moment was never just a dance. It was joy and mourning, laughter through pain, and harmonious with each step. There would be a year when their souls would long for another waltz in the kitchen, while their bodies would fail to respond. In this house, each brick had been shaking feet. Sorry, start that over. In this house, each brick had seen shaking feet take their first steps. Now they see shaking feet nearing their last. Many people don't get this long to live, let alone to be together happily all this time. Each moment a treasure. Make the most of every opportunity. She took his tired hand, leaning on it to bring herself carefully out of the chair, and rose slowly to her delicate feet. Their eyes met, and time melted from her face. For one brief moment, their creaking bones, worn with age, transcended the number of their years. She looked upon the face of the man she spent her life with, certain of her choice as she had ever been, still ever charming, still ever hers. She gave him the same answer she had for 62 years. Yes, you certainly may.
I did cry when I read this one. Like, I think a tear didn't fall, but it was full well, and I did this one. I was like, oh my God. Man, perfectly captured. I have to say, Jameson, you taught me something on this. You said something on this that I needed to hear, and it was he learned that intimacy does not grow in familiarity, but in commitment, and like love being love is a verb, that kind of falls into the same thing. It's a choice. It is it's just this whole thing really felt like it was written from a place of understanding and wisdom, and it was just a pleasure to read. Perfectly captured. Like by the end of it, like I it was just, this is romance. This is real raw romance. This is what it looks like. This is what you hope for. This is what you want to work towards. And yeah, it literally left me at the end of it. I started thinking, I was like, how can I be more like intentional about intimacy in my relationship? How can I be more committed to it instead of expecting the familiarity and all that?
Yeah.
Like, it's just, and that right there is the goal of storytelling, is like to teach somebody or to share with somebody or to enlighten someone, leave them better off before you came by. Boom, this did it.
Yeah. I love In the Other Room, the vinyl hummed a tune, a harmonic and holy hymn.
I remember my grandparents owned or in their house they had well, at first I remember my granddad being super into stereos. Like he loved stereos, and that was something that was passed down to my dad, and it's just been something in our family. Like we definitely take pride in our audio quality, and that originated with my granddad. And like I'm thinking about it, and honestly, like I think this reminded me of it. They had like very little furniture, and it was very light furniture in their living room. They didn't have a TV, but they had a record player with a badass stereo on it. And my mom reminded me of this when she was like, she was like, this was, when you were really little, but we used to just go over there and they would clear all the furniture out of the living room, and they just put records on, and grandma and grandpa would just dance. And then that's what everybody did. That like mom and like me and your dad danced, your aunt and your uncle danced and everything. And you'd sit there playing on the couch watching us dance. That's what we did when we went over to mom and dad's house. And I was like, whew. And then reading this, it like took me back there. I was like, I don't dance with my wife enough. I need to do this. Like, gotta clear that living room out, like get some records ready to play. That's beautiful.
Yeah. I think it's super good. It's awesome to me that we got like so many different flavors of romance represented. Like I was mentioning before, with the challenge obviously being sideboard, there's some intention in there to shake up just the premise, like by like forcing people to sort of think outside the box on what romance premise they're coming up with that's going to avoid using those words. And it's super cool to see, because I feel like we got to see so many quintessential kind of romance moments.
Yeah.
And this is such a cool, it's like another one that I would have been remiss to not see. But
yes.
like it's awesome to see it represented in spades. I'm super impressed.
Absolutely, across the board. And let's see, I want to do this next one from. Okay, so this will be the last of the submissions that we're sharing before we get on to ours. But this one definitely takes that whole nother side of it, like just reinforces what you just said. This one is from Right Guy's legend, the one and only Anna Hamilton. Probably going to be our first Right Guys guest. I think she's already earned it.
Graduate.
By now. Yeah, it's 5 story submissions. I think she's done it.
Well, you have to streak 5, which apparently she did do that. But like it was before we announced the challenge. It was before we announced the curriculum.
I'm willing to honor it. I'm willing to honor it.
We'll take it into discussion.
Okay.
Just a content warning on this next story. There does involve some elements of sexual assault and explicit content and sexual content. So if any of those things for any blanket reason aren't for you, then you can skip ahead, Micah, reading through this next story.
Now, this I will say this is what we mentioned before. The one that she had originally said not to share, and Ben and I both read it, and we were like, "This is an important piece. Like, do you want us to not share it because you're not comfortable with it? If that's the case, we won't do it. But we would like to share it, and if you're okay with that, then we'd like the permission." And she gave us the permission to. So thank you.
Yeah, she said she would want it shared under her regular pen name. So thank you, Anna.
Yes. You ready? Matt asked me. Yeah, I lie. I'm lying in my bed, looking up my boyfriend of 2 years. Matt is rail thin, angular, with slight shoulders and nearly iridescent blue eyes. He's one of the few people I know from before the incident, one of the few I trust. He lies down on top of me. He's hard, ready to go. I can feel it. My chest burns with anxiety. Hot tears well up, and I blink them back, hoping Matt won't see my weakness. I try not to remember the incident. I was 14. I'd made the mistake of taking the short path back from school, close to dark, through the alleyway. There were 3 boys. I tried to fight back. I swear. It was useless. When they did it, I felt my soul leave my body. I floated above that dirty alleyway and left behind the husk of my body for them to use and abuse, so I didn't have to feel the pain, the humiliation. That's all I know of sex. It's been 5 years now, and I should be over it. Hell, I asked Matt for this. I wanted tonight to change things, to heal me, but I feel myself shutting down already. My body is braced against invasion. He's inside me now. He's trying to be gentle. Good God, he's trying, but he's failing. I pull his face down to mine and catch his lips with mine, hoping this will keep my soul from leaving my body again, like it does when I'm stressed, or during my few attempts at intimacy after the incident. Why do I have to be like this? I pull my head back and breathe my soul out. I float up into the air above our bed. My body's still alive, of course, breathing, blood flowing through my veins, but I feel nothing. I don't want to feel anything. Just wait it out and let Matt have my body like he wants, like they all want. Katie? From above, I see Matt grab me by the shoulders, trying to shake me awake. Katie, you all right? Did you leave? When I don't respond, he mutters, "Shit. I'm so sorry." He pulls out of me, gets up and stands on the bed, reaches out into the air. His fingers brush my essence. Katie, I'm so sorry. It doesn't have to be tonight. Seriously, just come back, please. I want to be near him. I want to come back. This time can be different, perhaps. He cups his hands. My essence settles there. It feels warm, safe. I let him kneel back down and tip my essence into my mouth. The first thing I feel is my heartbeat, then the sheets on my back, then the weight of my limbs, finally the edges of my fingertips. Matt lies on his side next to me. "I'm sorry," I whisper. "Don't be. Thanks. For now, I'm secure in my own body, safe."
So good. I think it's such a cool, like, maybe cool is the wrong word. Such a, I think, a meaningful,
Yes,
and like visual representation of the psychology of a survivor. It's like it's such a novel way to have it, written as a story and shown, and it's cool to see it represented.
Yeah, and I she mentioned to us that this is not from experience personally. She just has known a number of people who have experienced sexual abuse and have PTSD from that, and so through that she wanted to write something that sounded and felt like how they had shared it with her. And that is again, like, that's the power of writing and vulnerability, and telling the important story. Like when you talk about writing a story of write something romantic, this 100% displays romance, in my opinion. Of what is true romance? True romance is being seen and being met where you're at, no matter the cost. Like, and that's exactly what this Matt character did. Like in 500 words displayed the true breadth of this decision and gave you the weight of it, where you felt like you were there. And like, she's trying, she wants to be something that she doesn't know if she's there yet. so she tries and then ultimately fails, like at being where she wanted to be, and she retreats back to her her safe place that she's developed in her trauma, and he meets her there instead of reacting how you see so many people in stories like this react. Like, you need to figure your shit out, or like, yeah, I'm sick of this, like or whatever. Like, getting to see this side of it where he's just like, yo, I see you. And even doing the, like, I loved that they walked through, like, it didn't explain this. It just said that he reached up for the ceiling. It infers that they had a conversation about this where she just detaches from her body and goes up to the ceiling and watches it. So that, in my mind, I made the connection of, like, this is this, like he is enacting, he's acting something out to show her, like, I know you're up here. I know this is where you're seeing it from. So I want you to see me scoop you, and then I'm going to bring you back down to you. I'm going to live in your safe construct that you've made. I'm going to put myself there.
Yeah.
To meet you where you're at and bring you back to the safe space that I always wanted this to be. This was supposed to be amazing for us, and I don't want it if it's not for you. And that is so romantic.
Yeah, it's super well done. The relationship feels like lived in. It feels like it has depth to it. The story it's really powerful, and the way that it's written is excellent. The use of, like, certain things like that you maybe obviously don't know just from hearing Micah read it, but like the use of things like proper nouns for incident. The word incident is capitalized, capital I. And so you have this, like, this moment this person is thinking of as this before and after crux in their life, and that becomes a capital I incident.
And they refer to it as like that's a personal way that they refer to it as the incident. That's like a little peek inside the head, a little bit closer immersion.
Yeah. It's really good.
Yeah. Man, just across the board, the Right Guys community, like, this is so cool. Like, thank you so much for all the submissions this week. And there were many more that we didn't get to read just for time constraints, but we read every single one of them, and I just brimming with pride and excitement, and to where this thing is going, and had multiple messages of, like, I think it was Jameson said that they hadn't written in forever, and they had been listening for a little bit and had wanted to get in on a writing challenge, hadn't gotten in yet, and this was the crack in the ice. Finally did one, and by the end of it felt invigorated, and right off the bat, that was one of my favorite ones that like literally brought a tear to my eye and makes me, like, think about how I can better my relationship with my wife. So thank you, everybody. And thank you for the vulnerability. Thank you for diving deep. Thank you for sharing your experience. We all have stories we need to be sharing with each other.
Yeah. I could show you mine now.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so mine this week is another song.
Can you send me the lyrics? I gotta read these, or should I just listen?
I'll send you the lyrics after.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm at the show.
I might have to, like, scroll at some point, so I might be, like, taking a finger off and swiping down. You know what it is.
Oh yeah, I know how it is.
When I sit to think of anything that I could sing for any reason, the reasons don't come easily to me. But with you I find the opposite has always been my problem. When I think of you, the reasons run me through. And I imagine it could feel amazing to be named within a sonnet, knowing every word is for your ears. But this one's got a little too much truth in it, and if I'm being honest, it's well beyond the point of being cute. I'm obsessed with your hair, your arms, your legs, your face, your chest. And how could I forget the way you dress? Every word that passes through your lips makes me wanna hear the next. I'm obsessed. I've got shrines and dolls in all your likenesses. I've got your body pillow chilling in my bed. All the photos from your wall on Instagram, on the walls inside my head. Heard. So when it comes to all the songs that I could sing, so when it comes to all the songs that I could sing to sweep you off your feet, this one's about as bad as it could be. And it might be fine if I retire these lines before they see the light of day, if there's a chance that you would hear them on the breeze. Everybody wants to be the subject of such elegant affections. As everybody wants to be the subject of such elegant affections over metaphors and major seventh chords. But that would be a fleeting comfort, fleeing from the sudden realization it's a little more than you had bargained for. I'm obsessed with the way you hide your smile when you jest. Every move you make I rate a 10. The smoothness of your body and your tan makes me wanna wear your skin. Is that a little much? Exactly, that's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm obsessed with your hair, your arms, your legs, your face, your chest. And how could I forget the way you dress? Every word that passes through your lips makes me wanna hear the next. I'm obsessed.
Oh, yes, dude. Damn it. I need that on a mixtape ASAP so I can I want to give that to Jenna and be like, hey, got a new song for you.
I'm excited about it, dude. I wrote it today.
Fun, too. You wrote that today?
Yeah, this morning.
Whole thing.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Too talented. That's come on. That dude. We were kind of talking about this the other day. The whole like when you're talking about something serious, and then you throw in like a cuss word or something like that, but it's like casual. It's like you're not emphasizing it. You're just like, and it just kind of like makes you feel more real with the person. You're like, okay, like they're just like, man, you drive me fucking crazy when you do that. You know, it's like it's not like you drive me fucking crazy. You know, it's not like that. But there's just a way of delivery, and humor can be delivered in the same very careful, very like specific and intelligent package where it doesn't break you from the meaningfulness, but it just makes you giggle and then makes you like feel better and fall more in love with the song. And like your little like you played that perfectly. I felt like.
Thank you. Yeah, I like the body pillow chilling in my bed.
Yeah, dude. I like to wear your skin. Do you get what I'm talking about? Yeah, I'm obsessed. Like I said, I'm freaking crazy.
Yeah, it's another like this was when I started thinking of, how do you tell a romance story without using the word love? What's a way of having a romance without necessarily having these sort of essential core words and features? And so you get these little fringe examples of
Yeah,
moments of romance and obsession was one of the ones that came to mind. And that was, I
I
guess,
love it.
I had written, it was a song idea that I had back in December, and all I had was just I'm obsessed. That was all I knew of the song. And so I've been trying to write it just based on that since then, pretty much. And now that I can write whenever I want because of Right Guys, I can just turn it into a song.
Yeah, dude. So, do you think that will make it to your album?
It'll be on something like it's super TikTokable. I think like that song could
Oh
there
yeah.
could be trends around things with like
Oh yeah.
obsession, or it's like a cute little, and so I think that'll be one that gets out and lives on TikTok for a little while, and then eventually probably would be released on Spotify, I imagine.
Okay, cool. Because I already want that to play. Like I hope it gets
Good.
released on something, even if it was just to the Right Guys community for a while. But there's already like I already want to like I want to send that and be like, hey babe, when you're winding down, I just got a song for you to listen to. And then just wait for the text response. And then I'll send this back. And then the devil face. Love it, man. Okay. God, that was great. I really enjoyed that. Okay, so
Yeah, I wish I had written it before today so that I could actually play through it without fucking up.
no, that's great. This was your first performance of that song, which will go viral and live and blow up, and all the Right Guys will know we saw it first. We got to see the real raw ones, like like there's like these recordings of like Beatles and like Johnny Cash and stuff like that, which I'm absolutely relating you to. And where there are these rare recordings where they like fuck up, and those are the ones you want to hear. And you're like,
Yeah.
you're like, oh man, like, because what does it do? It makes them not black and white anymore. They're humans just like us. They do fuck up. Like we get to see. It's like skate videos. You want like when you see the guy bust 15 times off of this like one story drop and keeps getting up and then finally lands it. It means so much more, and you've got so much more love and respect for this person, and so much a better idea of who's singing to you than if you just saw it landed or if you just heard it nailed.
Mm-hmm.
When we see you play that on Tiny Desk perfectly, we'll be able to say that we got to see you fuck up.
There you go. I guess this is the place to do it. How many viewers do we have down there?
I haven't checked in a while since you told me not to, but we do have more submissions.
Yeah, no, I super excited to have a new song written, and it's like it feels crazy to have it as like to be an accessible like zone, to just be like, I want to really put my head in something for a day and see what I can make happen. And it's like that's something that's been so inaccessible to me for so long.
Same.
But yeah, it's great. Like, and it's crazy with writing this, like, because with the romance sort of prompt, it was so general compared to a lot of our other ones. Like I've talked about the sideboard restriction a lot on this challenge, and how it gets you to like do different things around romance. But we did a pretty small sideboard, and it's like it was still like I was really trying to think of those restrictions, because on some level I was like there was just too many possibilities. And I'm someone who I've written a decent amount of romance type stuff before, and I mean, I should have talked about all this last time. I was like, I tried to remember romance I've written, and I brought up like the one story that I wrote for like
Well, it was a hilarious story.
this like yeah this cover
glad
up
that was the
story
one.
that I wrote. But it's just like most I think of what I've written ultimately is romance. Like I've written a lot of love songs, and so that is something that I've engaged in a lot throughout my life, and so again, trying to think of this challenge as like putting myself into restrictions and doing things differently. Once I had that idea of like, I remembered the Obsession song that I was writing, and I was like, that would fit perfectly with what I would like to do for this challenge.
Yes.
But it's like this, it's one of those gargantuan, it would be like for you picking up a No Sleeper song. It's just something that has existed for a while that I haven't touched, that I'm like, I'm very respectful of, because I've tried to do it a lot and it's been too hard. And like, it was just like that. Like I just had this expression of like, oh, there's this thing that would be perfect for Right Guys that I could pull in, that I've barely worked on, that I know is like a good, strong foundation. But I know this is a task that's real. And so like, I was kind of dreading it, trying to think of other things I could also do, trying to maybe write a story instead. And then like just this morning, I was like, do I even have time to write a story? I think I just have to bank on just writing this cute little song. Because like, if I can write it fast, it's one of the fastest things to write. It's just a few verses. But like, if
you're in the zone.
Yeah, can you get in the zone? And it worked, I guess, today.
Dude, it absolutely did. And I think that the time restraint probably greased the gears a little bit for you to allow, like, what am I going to put on this? Like, I could just be like, oh, but yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm upset. You know, it's like, yep, that's what I got time for. But there is some serious magic that happens in that. Dude, there are so typically the acoustic song and electronic is what we call it in O Sleeper world. Whenever we go to record, there's always like at least 10, there's like 8 to 10 heavy songs, like the tracks is what we call them. Like the serious ones.
Mm-hmm.
And then we always have an acoustic song, and then we always have an electronic song, which is like basically like, okay, both are going to be mainly singing and neither one are written yet.
Right. So like,
but we're going to
Two
figure them out.
Ships is electronic and the Summit is acoustic.
Exactly.
Reveries of Flight is
electronic,
and the acoustic one is
Conscious Speaks.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that one's shorter. And
Wait. What Reveries is Son of the Morning?
Yeah. Consciousness.
Conscious Speaks is Children of Fire. And on Children of Fire, Family Ruin was the electronic, is what we called electronic.
Yeah.
Then we had on Bloodied Unbowed we had on Titan EP we had Heavy Hands.
Yeah.
And that was both in one.
Right, because it's an EP.
And then we had freaking on Bloodied Unbowed we had the Summit and Two Ships. And okay, so all of the songs we just mentioned, all of those, every single one of those was not written before we went to the studio. And we tracked every other song and spent all of our time on every other song in the studio. And we spent months writing every other song that we tracked. And then those songs were all written within 2 to 3 days of just like after the bubble. The bubble is this magic. It's Goku in the hyperbolic chamber. It's like what I always want to get back to, like creating a bubble that I can go back to because I got to experience it these many times. But also like with your writing partner, like with the deadline, with everything about it, like where it was like, okay, I've been living in this space for X amount of days, living and breathing it every single day. The engine is primed. like we're also so stoked on what's happened and where everything's are at, and like, oh my god, we're near the finish line. Like spirits are high. We only have 3 days. We have to focus. Like, and then, but also, if it fails, it's just the acoustic song, which has brought the levity to those situations, like the perfect storm in those situations, to create our favorite songs we've ever written. Like when you talk to Shane or I or anyone in the band, really, like when we talk about like our favorite songs that we have, one of the songs I just mentioned shows up, and it's like yep, like that, like 1, 2, all of the songs that we mentioned, like they always end up hitting this magic spot where you're I don't know, you're riding the throttle just right.
Yeah.
You know?
And I feel like there's also something about having like anything, and I don't want to paint this in the wrong way, because like I love my like old projects and my songs that are like ingrained in my psyche, but like obviously novelty is a factor in terms of feeling like there's energy in something. And like when you hear a new song and you're really into it, like how many listens of the song do you have before that, like that real like presence and awareness you have with it starts to fade into like the more like, okay, it's like a background thing.
Yes.
And when you are creating something that like in real time, you're holding that fire in your hands, and like, this is the project that I'm making right now, and it's what I'm recording right now. And it's like you can feel like the goodness of it still, like you can feel what makes it good and what makes it purr to
Yes.
someone who's hearing it for the first time. Like you have that kind of fresh audience outlook on the sound. And so I think that absolutely has to play a role in like, when you're recording these songs, the one that you hasn't already been rehearsed in your head 1,000 times, you're feeling that fire in your hands as you're recording, and you're like, oh my god, this song is so good. Like,
dude, it's the inspiration of trailblazing. Like you feel like you're going down a path not traveled yet, whether it hasn't been traveled yet by your audience, your peers, or just by yourself. And you have this element of forgiveness to where like, hey, if it doesn't work, fuck it. Like we haven't done this yet. Like I'm just trying something. I'm trying to push. Yeah. And like for some reason you have this forgiveness to yourself that opens up this other world that just allows it's a very you like a you expression, you know, allows you to put your signature on it, your thumbprint on it. Yeah. Without polishing anything else, just being like, okay, that's it, and I'm letting go. And people connect to it, the raw, real, honest that we'll get into next week. Okay.
Yes, I want to hear yours.
All right. So okay. So piggybacking off of what you just said, I too struggle with this challenge big time because I got really bored immediately, and I was like, okay, I'm going to write like a beautiful poem about my wife. And like, not to say that would bore me, but also like, I was like, okay, I don't want to do that under a time constriction. B, I don't want to do it. Like I want that to just be, you said something to me on one of our calls where you're like, I've got something I can share, but I kind of want to give it to Julie as a gift, and I want her to have it, and then her decide when I can share it. And I was like, that's very romantic. Like, and I was like, well, shit. Like, I haven't written something for Jen in a while. Like, I don't want to just write it for Right Guys. I want to write it for her. And like, I wrestled with that for a while, and then I was like, okay, so what am I gonna do? And I had to throw it way out of the box. Way out of the box.
Okay.
And I may have skirted the line of the rules a little bit. But when you see how far out there I am, I think I'll get a pass.
Yeah.
Okay, so I sent it to your email, and I'm giving you permission to open it now.
Oh my god. Wait. I'm seeing a stat sheet.
So I created a D&D monster that
Oh.
I'm giving to the Right Guys community.
Yes.
That you dungeon masters can put into play in anything. It's not a legendary character, and it's not like this is something that can happen in pretty much any town if you wanted to.
Dude, this is really cool. I'm really glad that you did this format.
Okay, so the Trysting Terror, a medium undead. The soulmated spirits of two murdered lovers have conjoined in death to make a trysting terror. In desperation to feel each other's warmth again, the trysting terror seeks out and possesses living lovers, stealing the hosts away to feed their fiery passion in seclusion. The trysting terror ignores all living needs until their host bodies die, and they must find a new couple. Only one possessing a piece of the trysting terror's killers can bring an end to its amorous rampage. It is a chaotic neutral. This trysting terror has an armor class of 12, hit points 45, a 10d8, a speed of flying. It hovers, and it's got a speed of 40 feet, strength of 7, dex of 13, constitution 10, intelligence 10, wisdom 16, charisma 20. Its saving throws are all based off of its charisma. It's got skills in deception plus 9 and perception plus 7. Damage resistances are acid, fire, lightning, thunder, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical weapons. Damage immunities: cold, necrotic, poison. Condition immunities: charmed, exhaustion, frightened, grappled, paralyzed, petrified, poisoned, prone, restrained. Senses: it has dark vision of 60 feet with a passive perception of 17. Languages: it can speak any language they want. The Trysting Terror, the couple once knew in life, but it also understands any language spoken out of love. It's got a challenge of 10. You earn 5,900 XP off of killing this bad boy. Now let's move on to the abilities. Baked into this new monster on the field is Star-Crossed Justice. If the Trysting Terror's attacker does not possess a piece of its killers, the Trysting Terror cannot be brought below 1 HP. Instead, it will slip into the ethereal plane and teleport to a safe area 100 feet away, healing to full health after its next possession. It's got Ethereal Sight. This is a common D&D ability for ghost inspectors. Trysting Terror can see 60 feet into the ethereal plane when it is on the material plane, and vice versa. Incorporeal movement: it can move through walls and shit. Undead nature: a Trysting Terror doesn't require air, food, drink, or sleep. Moving on to the actions. Take your breath away. The Trysting Terror takes a creature's breath away. The creature must succeed on a Constitution saving throw or begin to suffocate. While suffocating in this way, its speed is halved and it can survive for a number of rounds equal to its Constitution modifier, minimum 1 round. During this time, the creature can speak only falteringly. This speech is insufficient for the incantations needed for spells. At the start of the first turn after these rounds, it drops to 0 hit points and is dying, and the spell ends. At the end of each of its turns before reaching 0 hit points by this effect, it can reattempt a Constitution saving throw. On a success, the spell ends. Its next ability is Crush. The Trysting Terror gets a crush on you. Target creature must make a DC 18 Charisma saving throw, taking 38 necrotic damage on a failed saving throw, or half as much damage on a successful one. It takes two. The Tristing Terror may possess two humanoids at once with possession. Possession. One humanoid that the Tristing Terror can see within 5 feet of it must succeed a DC 13 Charisma saving throw or be possessed by the Tristing Terror. The Tristing Terror then disappears and the target is incapacitated and loses control of its body. The Tristing Terror now controls the body but doesn't deprive the target of awareness. The Tristing Terror can't be targeted by any attack, spell, or other effect except ones that turn undead, and it retains its alignment, intelligence, wisdom, charisma, and immunity to being charmed and frightened. It otherwise uses the possessed target's statistics but doesn't gain access to the target's knowledge, class features, or proficiencies. The possession lasts until the body drops to 0 hit points. The Tristing Terror ends it as a bonus action, or the Tristing Terror is turned or forced out by an effect like the Dispel Evil and Good spell. When the possession ends, the Tristing Terror reappears in an unoccupied space within 5 feet of the body. The target is immune to this Tristing Terror's possession for 24 hours after succeeding on the saving throw or after the possession ends. And its last one is a common D&D action of etherealness shared by ghosts and specters. The Tristing Terror enters the ethereal plane from the material plane, or vice versa. It is visible on the material plane while it is in the border ethereal, and vice versa. Yet it can't affect or be affected by anything on the other plane.
This is cool. And so, like, when you have this is awesome. There's a million things I want to talk about with this.
Okay.
One, where did you get all like the D&D lingo? Because like I feel like you've only played once, not like.
Oh yeah.
It's like you've studied up for this. Like
yes.
This is like it's pretty comprehensive.
So that was the rabbit hole of like, okay, I need to spice it up. I need some more parameters to get me like really cooking to make something that I'm excited about. And I was like, what if I made like a character? And I've been playing a lot of this Castle Ravenloft, and I was just like, and Divinity and everything, and then like I just love character like sheets, you know, like, it goes back to like baseball cards, like watching someone's stats and everything. And I was like, man, it just like the name just came through, and I was like, okay, what would be a real challenge? Like, okay, what if you made a monster that was romantic? And then I was like, where could you do that? Ooh, D&D, you could do that. What would you call it? And then I was just kind of like driving and laughing about it, much like you were talking about with like the with your song, just throwing it off. Like, I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna do a poem, but this is kind of fun to think about. Then I was like, Tristing Terror. I was like, oh, that sounds good. And then I was like, so what would a Tristing Terror be? And I remember I was at I think I was at Chipotle or something like that, and I just like got my phone out and I started talking about like what a Tristing Terror would be, and I was like, okay, so it's got to be romantic, but it's got to be brutal. Like, I don't want to make a monster that's easy. And I was like, okay, so we need some mechanics about this. And I was like, all right, so the lore is they were murdered, and now they're just like rampaging. But it's two people murdered at once in cold blood that spirits can join to make one greater ghost, greater spirit or whatever. And then they have this motive, and you can beat it, but you can't beat it until their killer is defeated and you have proof of it. And then I was like, okay, so how do I make that not too black and white? Because in D&D, you want to be able to play however you want. And if you have a plot that is like, that makes you do something you don't want to do, then that's kind of immersion breaking. So I was like, okay, maybe you just have to have a piece of their killer. Maybe out of some way in D&D, you could find this killer and talk them out of a finger or something like that. Like, I'll pay you. It's like, how much would it cost for your finger? You meet him in an inn. He's like 10,000 gold, and you're like, oh shit. But if we can, then we can get him to chop his finger off, and then the person who takes the last hit can be holding the finger, and then they will be able to kill it. Or the D&D, the Dungeon Master could write it where this is like the killer's long dead, and these people have been plaguing the town for like 100 years, and there hasn't been a wedding in the town forever, and like it's just like withering, and you have to dig this guy up and carry bones of him or something.
Yeah.
And so like it just kind of spiraled, and then I was like, okay, what does a character card look like? Look that up. And then I was like, shit, there's a lot of stuff to figure out here. And so then it was like looking up different D&D creatures that had the same difficulty level, and then like looking at their like stat points and like where they would be high and where they'd be low, and then like doing charisma instead of strength and all this stuff like that. And then just kind of some of the things are skinned, like crush is skinned from a crush of like a giant or something like that. But instead of doing a strength saving throw, you have to do a charisma saving throw. And instead of doing bludgeoning damage, does like necrotic damage.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, when I was doing DMing, writing my own creatures, like I was constantly, when you're trying to balance with players, you want to keep them on the edge of death at all times, but if I keep them alive.
God, that's so good.
But it's like like the challenge ratings become incredibly delicate. It's like balancing on a knife's edge. And so like I would use these online calculators that you would put in your number of players and their levels, and then you would put in like a challenge rating and number of creatures, and it would tell you like how deadly the encounter is. And this challenge rating 10, it's a toughie, dude.
Yeah, so it started as a ghost. Like I found a stat card generator, and I started with a ghost, and then I skinned everything I could like creatively, but then I was like, but it's not just a ghost, this is two ghosts, and like this is like I want it to be a real event. Like this is like this could be like the thing of this village,
Right. Yeah.
And then I found some fan art that did like a greater ghost, and that's where I got the stats. And some thread, and then I just went through and like tweaked stuff. But I've been so curious. I've been so excited to show you, to see if by reading over it, if you think it would work, because I don't know. I don't fully know what the stats mean.
This would work.
You think so?
Yes.
Would it be a weird fight? Would it be like, shit, we got to retool and get a strategy about this?
We'd have to play it out. I think like challenge rating 10 is like Strahd was like challenge rating 10.
Oh wow.
So it's like it's like main boss of like a mid-level campaign.
Okay, well that fits then.
Yeah. And so like
you have to quest a little bit to even get to kill it. Like you may encounter it and it's probably going to kill you, but if you beat it without the quest completed, it escapes. So
and this is a type of creature.
Yeah.
So like Strahd is a type of vampire. Vampires are challenge rating 5. Strahd is challenge rating 10. If you wanted to create a specific campaign around a particular trysting terror that was named or known in some way, it could be any challenge rating, and this is the base creature. But this challenge rating would definitely work for that kind of campaign, and it would be like, I don't know, I can already imagine the scenarios that are starting around, like, how do you hook players into this, like, unknowingly? It's like they're visiting a new town, and it's just like, as they're getting to the town, like, there's just like people like having sex in the woods, and like they're completely unable to like interact with them in any way. They're just like locked in, and there's like that's pretty weird. And then like they get to the town, they don't like talk about it or think about it much. Eventually, like they go out and they find like the 2 dead bodies out there,
and they're just
then, like,
withered.
They find out that like people have been like leaving this town in pairs for the past like several months, and it's like, whoa, what's going on with these couples in the woods?
This was 100% like my, well, that my only draw from a D&D, a proper D&D game, was the one that you wrote for Shane and I, and just our experience in that week of like going to the town, and like how like how I was like so immersed into the town that you created that I was really paying attention to anything that anyone said. And I was picturing like there's this old couple that's just crying, and it's like their son has disappeared, and they think he's going to be just like he just got, they're supposed to be married in the next like blah blah blah, and like you're trying to like go around this town to find out any information, and then you like, when did these start happening? Like you have to go on to an investigation, and the dungeon master would have to really like get involved in this to like put clues. Is there a grave site? Does the killer still live? Who's the killer going to be? But I wanted to keep it vague enough to where it could be tossed into, I got this village they're coming into. I don't know what I want them to face. What's something that could be new? That wouldn't be like top, but would be difficult and be rewarding at the same time. And I thought like even like it would be cool to do like, whenever, if you do kill the Trysting Terror, then it infuses whatever item of the killer that you are wearing with an ability that then you have as an item that you carry. Like -1 to necrotic or something like that, or it ups your charisma permanently by 2 by wearing it. Something like that.
Yeah. Did the Trysting Terror, it could be a whole mini campaign you could write around this. In fact, maybe we should for Right Guys.
Let's do it. Well, this is released into the world. Like this is just, I want to get it out and like I want any of our Right Guys who are in a D&D, anybody out there who can give some wisdom onto how to make this, like trim it down. Do we need to drop the challenge level? Is it good where it's at? Like, do we, what about it do we need to tweak to make it fit good? And then just like, it's just creation fodder. Just like take it, run with it, write a story about it. The Trysting Terror is yours.
Dude, it's amazing.
Go fight it. Get your item artifact saying that you beat it.
We definitely should do a simulation of a fight with Trysting Terror at some point with Right Guys.
I would love that. You're gonna have to write it.
Yeah, we'll do like I'll DM a campaign, and we'll get people from the Discord or something in we'll get a little group going on a Skype call.
Oh yes, we could do it virtually like this.
Yeah, we
could do it in the bar.
We could
play D&D in the bar. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Man, awesome. All right.
Okay, well, one other thing that we wanted to do before we end this out was to talk about the questions we had gotten from we sent out to our Discord. We have this channel in our Discord now for questions and comments. If anyone has Q&A, anything related to writing or me and Micah at all, it's fair game for the podcast. These questions, if anything, could be an excuse for us to delve into other topics too. So like if you have non-writing or personal related things that are other questions that you have for us, feel free to ask them on there. And if we have things to say about them, then they'll more than likely end up affecting the content that you listen to. So it could be fun.
Absolutely. And the Discord is where we will actually we'll have the PDF of the stat card, a stat block of Trysting Terror up there for anyone to download it and dive in.
And so the question that we had come in from Tim was, what is your opinion on incomplete book series like Rothfuss and George R. R. Martin? And how much responsibility, if any, does an author or creative shoulder in completing a work in a timely manner? Yeah, dude, lots of thoughts on this. It's a toughie.
Yeah, where are you at?
I think, like, you see it happen kind of in different ways and in different circumstances. Like Name of the Wind is the one that I'm most attached to with Patrick Rothfuss, where it's probably my favorite series, and he's my favorite writer, I think. Like I just in particular like his prose, like the words he chooses, the way he forms sentences. I like him as a writer. And it's tough because it feels a lot like he has too much other stuff going on. He's like really busy, and he's got all these other projects, and he's got these other projects because he got popular from writing these books. So it's this like catch-22 situation where people get really frustrated with him for not finishing the books because they perceive a social contract between themselves and the author. And I get that, and I like feel the same. Oh, yeah. Like I feel like I definitely want to read the last book in the series, but at the same time, I don't think anyone is beholden to any contract, especially one that is not actually signed and sealed. Like there was no contract that he signed with the audience, and any position that he has to then go and avoid writing those books, like that's his prerogative. Writing the books, I think, should be made a good option for him by the audience and society. It's like that should be what he wants to do. That should be where the motivation is, because that's what he's really good at, and that's why he got to where he is. And so you would love to see it continued, that he just has the same motivations that he's always had, but he's been given opportunities to excel and like have a really good life without doing that, without writing. Like he now has has opportunities to have a higher quality of life doing celebrity work than doing chair time. And so like, what do you expect? It's well, like,
I got a question for you. Do you find if you're selling a product and you want to go buy a story, and you end it with "to be continued," do you find that as a promise that it will be continued? Or does that mean fill in the gaps? Or does it mean stay there, stay tuned? That's kind of a social contract.
Okay, it is, but
you took the time, you put 40 hours of your life.
So is he allowed
into writing?
But let's put it this way: is he allowed to die?
Yes. And that is the only way.
So he's allowed to die, and that's his only way out of the contract in your mind.
So no. But I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm putting food for father out there, and that is like, but I honestly do believe that, and I'm coming from a position of passion on this because my favorite writer,
Scott Lynch,
has infuriated me. Same way, Scott Lynch, where now I like Shane and I have talked about this a bunch, where like now I'm just choosing which so I, like when I'm talking about my favorite, I've got my top 3, and they are all neck and neck, but ultimately one appeals to me the most, where I'm just like, this is exactly how I want to write, how I want to world build, like this is where I want to live. And he created that, and now just for the fact that I can rely on these others, and they do it so well, and they do it so consistently, and it keeps going, and I can keep going. Now the breadth of them, where I started with him, they have so far surpassed what he's put out. I'm talking Scott Lynch has put out 3 books in this series, and the last one dropped in 2013. Here we are in 2022, and he's been saying that it was finished for like 6 or 7 years. The last he's saying it's gonna release the next year, and it doesn't, and that's been going on for 6 years. And now, and like, you go on dude, I am not alone in this. Go on and read. All right, so The Thorn of Emberlane is the next Scott Lynch book in the Gentleman Ambassador series. Look it up on Amazon Books. It has like 1,700 5-star reviews of speculative reviews of where he's going to go with it. 1,700 people have logged on and written where they think the book's going to go because we're all waiting. We're like, what the fuck, dude? Like, what are you doing? And he's not doing anything else. It's like you started this and you said it was we had another one coming. We said we could get another one. Well, you said stay tuned, and every year you've said stay tuned. This year it's coming out, and it doesn't. And now it's to a point where like it's soiling my whole opinion of his writing. Where I'm like, dude, you're being a dick as an artist. Like, let us go. If you don't want to do it anymore, that's fine. That is totally okay. If you want to do other projects, you just don't have the heart of it. Say it. Mm-hmm. And then surprise us later. Do the typical band thing that Sleeper should have done a long time ago. Break up, even if you don't know if you want to break up, and then just surprise, we're back, and everyone's like, yeah, I'm so excited.
Right.
But dragging it on is just like, oh, it's exhausting.
Yeah. When I think of it from the artist perspective, it is a lot more convicting to me. I feel like as an audience member, I don't usually have those, like I'll definitely wait a long time for something and get frustrated waiting for something. I think as an artist, it feels so scary to me to think about that idea of like promising something and then not delivering on it. Like I feel like if I feel like you said, setting up a to be continued and then selling something based on it saying to be continued.
Yeah.
At the end.
And you may get stardom and you may get fame from this, but guess why you have that? Because the people who bought and read that book, that's why you're living in your nice cush house. That's why you're able to pay for your next meal. That's why you're able to get this new job that you enjoy. Well, take care of them, or like, end it.
I feel like the merits are, I don't know, maybe they're not like, but I feel like the things people have earned are almost always based on what they have done. And that's where it becomes like annoying to me to like when I see people really coming at Rothfuss for like having the life that he has and having the celebrity and like the money that he has for doing what he's done. And it's like, to me, it's like inseparable from, I just feel like I'm looking out at this crowd of people complaining and I'm like, you put him here. Like you are doing this, like the whoever are the people who have been like, if I feel like it's his audience that really launched him into celebrity.
Yes,
and
so he owes his audience what they want.
Like, sort of, but also like if you don't want to do that, then don't uphold his celebrity. Then stop following him and stop.
No. Celebrity is something given that then is maintained. You know, you have to ruin your celebrity to get it taken away, or you fizzle out over time. But we're not talking about people who have had enough time to fizzle out where you forget about them. And now I have to like just one more thing. I'm also saying this from a personal conviction standpoint. When we did the Indiegogo campaign, we raised X amount of dollars and said that if we hit a certain goal, we would release a 5-song. That we release an EP, that's what we were trying to raise for. But if we hit a different goal, then we would release another album, like full length album, and it would probably come out as 2 EPs, but we still would do it. Well, life happened after that, and we basically broke up and spiraled into depression, and then like literally like sold everything, and slowly but surely the years tick by, and then it starts trickling in, and I start seeing these comments and messages come in like, yo, you said if we supported you we would get another album. Where is it? Like you said it would come out after Warped Tour. And in my mind I'm reading these like, shit, we that's so true. We regardless of where we're at, even if we put out a shit album, we have to put something out. Like we said we would. but how? Like the band's basically broken up. Like people are in other bands now. Like we've got jobs and families and kids and stuff like that. And then it's like, uh, yeah, like that. Then reassuring, like, okay, well, we did say after Warped Tour, we didn't give a date. So as long as we do, we just have to put one out. We do have to put one out. It can last however long, but we do have to put one out, and we should do it soon. And then like the longer we went, like the heat just like heated up, and it was like people that we cared about, that believed in us, that put us on their back and took us to the finish line to let us go independent. And we're just banking on our own promises, our own to be continued. This story is, and I even said that. I was like, this story is the start of a new concept that will be continued if we reach this thing.
Mm-hmm.
If we didn't ever put one out, then it's definitely on us. And that was shady. And we are doing a disservice. And that was a motivating factor for me to like push through some like hard writer's block, some like personal depression and everything like that. I needed to know, to see our fans and be like, hey, they want us, they're depending on us, we owe them this. Let's get past our own shit and do it. And then we ended up writing Bloody Unbowed, and it's one of my favorite albums we've written. And I'm so glad that happened. But that integrity, like you got to click back into it. I ran away from it for a long time, but I wish Patrick Rothfuss and Scott Lynch would just click back into it and remember what they started. A to be continued when you're talking about hours upon hours of reading and rereading and developing characters that shape your life, that you relate to, that are with you in certain situations, and then that person says, just wait till you see what happens next. Mm-hmm. But I got a Benz and I got some really popular fans, and I'll make a lot more money if I write this book now, so you just sit tight and I may get back to you. But these people are paying me more money now that I wouldn't meet unless you were there to get me there.
Yeah.
I think there's a responsibility.
Yeah, for sure. I think that you paint a pretty clear picture of the full ABC that I wasn't connecting all the dots to before. Yeah.
Are you on board?
Oh yeah, fuck them.
Yeah.
I mean, like in many ways, like my frustrations remain the same as they were, and in a lot of ways, like I'm not just gonna be angry at these people now, but yeah, getting an increased understanding of thinking about the contract from the artist's perspective. I think that's something that I just haven't done enough of.
Yeah,
thinking about, because as soon as I inspect it from that lens, I can totally see the contract. Like I think that I don't feel it from the audience perspective all the time, in a way that probably a lot of people don't, who don't think about it and don't question it. But once I've examined it from the other side, I can see that contract is obviously totally there, and it's like something that you're relying on as an artist as a very real thing. And so it's
kind of like a handshake agreement. It's not official, but you said it. I mean,
to then
it's your
go
word.
And like consider it an illusion and to blow past it in the future is pretty crazy.
Yeah, but I'm with you in if either one of them put out, muster up and just push it through and put that out, I'm buying that thing. I'm reading it because I've wanted to read it for so long, and I'll probably be frustrated. And then whenever I finish it, I'll be like, God, I'm so pissed it took me so long to read that because it was so good. And I hope, that's what I hope. But man, I hope they don't ghost also. That was something I remember Shane telling me about Game of Thrones. He was seriously concerned about George R. R. Martin's health. Mm-hmm. And he was like, man, he's taken so long to finish this story.
Yeah.
And he has strung so many people along and this massive group of followers, and now he's getting the biggest Netflix series ever for this, and getting paid to go back and rework parts of the story where all of us who brought him there are just waiting to see this thing finished, and he doesn't look good. And it's like, dude, come on. This story, it's kind of like when your story surpasses your name.
Yeah.
where it's like, hey, you could pass and leave something great for the world unended. Like, don't do it. You've inherited a
Well, and
responsibility.
I mean, you have to wonder about the gravity of that legacy and how much it weighs on, like to live up to the setup that you've created in these books already. It's like knowing, like Rothfuss has set himself up for like one of the ultimate, like there's just so many pieces ready to come together, and it's like he's laid a lot of the clues in throughout the series, and a lot of the fans have pieced things together by now where it's like there's enough theories out there to construct a full book, and if he doesn't live up to and surpass them, then it's going to be real bad. And it's tough because there's been like hundreds of thousands of minds cracking at this, like and what are you supposed to do? Like he's a genius. He created an intricate puzzle box, but there's a lot of other geniuses out there that have been working at that puzzle box, and it's like he waited a long time, dude, and like they've all got their positions. They're all waiting in ambush for you now. Like,
the pressure's on. If he had just released the next one in succession to the last, then
it's like,
it wouldn't give everyone this time to like feed on it, and his idea would be novel on top of it. But it's going to be hard to be novel now that everyone's gotten to think of everywhere else it could go. Someone's going to be out there whenever he puts it out. Someone's going to be out there and be like, "Yeah, that's what I thought would happen."
Yeah, dude.
And that's
like
what
people
you don't
have
want.
figured out like what the knots in Denna's hair were saying when she was in the city, and Quoth is like braiding her hair through the illish knots. Like people have like figured out like what all the secret messages hidden in all the poems, like
like all those that was. Yeah, the longer you wait, the more complicated it gets. A point in case, Bloodied Unbowed came out. I put the concept 30 years in the future from when Titan EP was. I was like, I've waited so long since we released Titan EP, and he was at this point. And my life has changed so much, and my inspiration for writing has changed so much from that point. I'm a completely different person. In order for this to feel organic at all, I got to hop it forward 30 years to where now I'm not talking about this teenager who's found this new ability. I'm talking about somebody who's like feeling the weight of responsibility.
Yeah.
That is a really good question. Who said that? Who asked that?
That was from Tim.
Awesome, Tim. Good question.
One of our Discord contributors. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, please, this will be a new segment on us, the question and answer. So hop in there and ask questions you want to see answered, and we'll toss them around, chew them up.
And so, what else is there to go over?
So we just have the new challenge.
All right.
I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're wrapping up here. This has been a rich marathon of an episode.
It's
so
a
if you're still sticking around,
voluminous one.
I've had such a good time, so I hope anybody else has too. But we're going to wrap it up with the new challenge for next week. Again, the new curriculum we're adding in is that if you get on a hot streak of submitting 5 times in a row, we will have you on as a guest to talk about your writings and to talk about how the Right Guys curriculum of challenging yourself every week to have chair time has inspired your writing and what you've learned from it. But
you'll get a chance to plug stuff you're working on if you are a writer.
Absolutely. So this next challenge, what challenge number is this going to be?
Would this be, so this is episode 8. So I believe we are issuing challenge 9. Challenge 1 was answered in episode 1. Challenge 1 was issued pre-episode 1. So this would be episode 8. We're issuing challenge 9, which will be delivered in episode 9.
Perfect. Okay. So this is for challenge 9.
It's going to get real complicated after this. The challenge numbers are probably going out the windows soon after we hit those double digits.
So what we're going to do on challenge 9 is exactly what we said about the toolbox. So we got 2 new tools in the toolbox. We've got the throw that thing down, flip it, and reverse it tool. And we have the roll tool. And what we're going to use on this one is the roll challenge. Okay, pretty open, pretty straightforward. Not too many constraints. Just a challenge to use this tool in your writing. What we're going to do is basically write a story where the characters in the stories are rolled. You rolled the roll for each character in the story. This does not have to mean that that what you rolled is who they are, or as in, like, let's say, like, I want to write a story about a dragon rider and his knight friend, and they're gonna, pair up and storm this castle. That works. Now roll each character and to give depth and subcontext to that character, and write your story inspired off that. And in that, you're going to list the characters and what the noun you rolled was. We'll put up if just Google random noun generator, or ask somebody as candidly as you possibly can. Like, the best thing is if this has nothing to do with your challenge, but just tell us what you rolled, tell your story, and then we'll have a great time picking apart where we think we see that role in your characters, and where this went and where it could have gone. And give us feedback. We love it whenever you submit your submission and then say, hey, I want to tell you a little bit about this. Because then if we decide to choose that and talk about it, then that gives us great insight that we can share with everybody else. So we just get a deeper view into your work.
And so just to be super clear on the roll thing, what we're doing for that is we're going to be, so like you said, taking an idea for a story with a certain number of characters, and then for each of those characters, we're going to do this exercise on them, which is what we did in the middle of the episode with the word hall. And so you're going to get a random word, and then you're going to write down things about that word, things about the noun, and then you're going to base a character on all those same traits that noun sort of embodied.
Right.
And so, a character being like a hallway can be a pretty abstract thing, but that's what we're going to end up with.
Right.
Maybe
it
it's
doesn't have
characters
to be,
that are like nouns.
It doesn't have to be main characters either. It could just be someone that they're interacting with. But either way, just like we did the example with Ben's character Trenault, and he drew Hall, and then when we go through the process of, well, without thinking of Trenault, what do we know about the basics of a hallway? And it's that keep it basic. That's where it really gets exciting. Don't think about your character in these. List them out and then go by one and figure out how that could relate.
And we were altering an existing character, but I'm super excited to do this in a scenario, creating new characters where there's no existing template that I'm trying to fit the idea of long and deep or cavernous onto, but just getting that concept fresh with a blank slate and thinking, what could this mean in its most pure form?
It kind of opens it up to it could turn into a fun, intuitive writing exercise where you don't really know what's going to happen.
That's
next.
what I'm planning
they're going to meet
do,
someone,
yeah.
and you're like, who the fuck is this going to be? And then you're like, oh, he's a Volkswagen? What do I know about Volkswagens? And then you start writing a character who's like, I guess that's a proper noun, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's a super exciting idea to just have characters that have these really specific personalities, and then to just put them into kind of a random scenario and let that shake out and see what happens.
Do not say that your character is like a hall or is like your word. This is all for subcontext and to inspire their reactions, thoughts, all that.
It was long and deep like a hall.
The thing about Trenault is he had lots of entries and exits, much like a hallway. His mind echoed like a hallway.
Just constant.
That's not the idea. Awesome. Yeah, well, that's all I got.
Very cool. Me too.
All right. Well, we love you guys. Get that chair time in, and can't wait to
Oh
see
yeah,
y'all.
one quick thing.
Oh,
because
let's
I'm
go.
going to be signing off to everyone as the right guys. We did have a comment. And right girls was pointed out to us. In my mind and my parlance, just wanted to be clear and upfront. Guys means guys and girls.
Yeah.
So when I say right guys, it's hopefully inclusive of right girls as well.
Absolutely.
But I would love to open a discussion on this. If you guys would, if people would like, if girls would like to have a separated term that I'm saying both, then we can discuss, and I will do that.
I refer to all of my close circle, whether they be guy or girl, as dude.
Yes, and I call my wife and my mom both dude every time I see them.
And I think of and whenever I see my friends, like when I talk to my group of friends, I say, "What's up, guys? What's up, guys? I love you guys." Like that is the context of right guys. That's how we see it. But we're not changing the name, but
yeah.
but we can absolutely change the way we salute or salutate.
If it's desired. So yeah.
If it's desired, yeah. Let's just be comfortable, all right?
And hey, to all you right guys out there, I'm gonna say have a great night, have a great day, have a great week, have a great rest of the month, however long it is till the next episode. We're so excited to see you in the next one.
Yes. Love you guys.
Peace.
Right guys out.
That was a good one.